Swinging a fly ball to left field. Back goes Arozarena. She's gone. Here comes the 3-2. He got him. For the first time in 32 years, the Toronto Blue Jays are going to the World Series. What a performance by Jeff Hoffman, M&I.
What a season for the Blue Jays. Hoffman was outstanding after 2 innings last night. He came in and slammed the door. He struck out the side. This is a season to remember.
We do this for the city, man. We do this for y'all. We do this for y'all. 4 more, baby. 4 more.
That is what it sounded like last night on Sportsnet alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK as the Toronto Blue Jays win 4-3 at home in what was an unbelievable atmosphere in Toronto yesterday, Alex. That's everything that I love about playoff baseball. You got some huge moments. A critical 3-run home run, come from behind, down 3-1. George Springer comes to the plate, a guy that was a huge free agent signing for Toronto a few years ago. Mostly has been viewed as a disappointment relative to the amount of money that he had been paid. This year was awesome, and then comes up with one of the biggest, if not the biggest moment for Blue Jays baseball in the last 30 years. Literally in our lifetimes, Alex, that may have been the biggest moment for the Toronto Blue Jays. It is the first go-ahead home run while trailing by multiple runs in the 7th inning or later in any Game 7 ever. Wow. And that is what we witnessed last night in Toronto. The only other in any winner-take-all game was the 2024 in a wild card game when Pete Alonso did it in Game 3. Alex, what was your takeaway from last night, the scene that we saw in Toronto as the Blue Jays advanced to the World Series?
I mean, that's what you love about playoff baseball. It's why you love baseball, those types of environments. I actively root against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'd like to see them never win another game again.
Whoa, they got Chief,
Yeah,
though.
no, I love Chief. I just don't like the team itself. But good for you, Toronto. Like, man, that was fun. Ari Alexander put a video out this last night, and it was the whole at-bat by George Springer with the play-by-play off, and it was just the baseball stadium ambiance. And watching that crowd go ballistic when he smashed it. They knew when it was off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
That was what I love about playoff baseball. When you see fan bases get that excited, and especially one in Toronto that, like, we know from the hockey side of things, we saw it in the Raptors when they won in the NBA, like, that fan base is passionate. And to see a guy like George Springer, who the last couple of years has been, he's washed up, he's injured now, bad contract, the question circulating Vladimir Guerrero Jr., like, it all just came to a perfect mic drop moment of winning that game against Seattle that it felt like the game was done for. So, man, that's baseball at its finest. That's something that you just get glued to the television with. So I loved every second of it, and I hope everyone else did too, because it's over in 4.
True.
So when Vlad Guerrero said after the game 4 more, he was talking about the Dodgers.
Games in general.
They have 4 more games, and then we get to go play golf.
The Vlad Guerrero contract is now worth it, right? Whatever comes from here, worth it.
Yep.
Because of that game, that win,
The series,
this moment.
this postseason, it's been for Vlad Guerrero Jr.
I know, T-Bone, you were opposed to it. I said at the time, like, I don't know what else you're supposed to do. If you just let this guy walk, fold the franchise. There's no reason to continue to play baseball in Toronto if you don't keep this guy because of a few extra $1 million a year. And I know that's maybe not like the greatest explanation as to why you've got to get something done, but it was why I felt like they had to get this done, and that moment is why. This game is why. Like, it gives you a chance. When you have a player like Vlad Guerrero Jr. on your roster, you can build around that. You can build a championship caliber team around that. If you lack that player, everything else becomes, at best, that much harder. At worst, impossible. to be able to build. So I looked at these teams yesterday. I love the Seattle Mariners. Love the way they've built. Love the roster construction. Enjoy watching them play. I would say the same thing is true for Toronto.
Yeah.
It's just a really fun team. So this series, I was going to be happy with whoever ultimately won this series. I do want to go ahead and revisit and relive some of the moments, Alex, because it was such an awesome atmosphere. So let's start out on the Blue Jays side of things. This is the final call. You just heard the call from Sportsnet, which is a Toronto-based call, right? This is the radio call, which was exclusively for Toronto Blue Jays fans. Take a listen.
Full count, 2 outs, top of the 9th, Game 7 of the ALCS. Hoffman's payoff pitch. He got it! The Blue Jays win the pennant! The Blue Jays win the pennant! They're going to the World Series! It's so good, we must be dreaming! The Toronto Blue Jays come back, knock off the Mariners, and they will take on the LA Dodgers!
I love how they brought a hockey goal horn into the stadium because they had to, make it feel like that Toronto can do something.
It adds a little something.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be honest. It adds something to the environment.
Gives you
they do it after
goosebumps.
home run calls as well. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the Batista bomb where he does the basketball.
dude.
That's the first, my first memory of Toronto baseball is that.
I thought you meant
and
the
that's how I always remember. That's why I agree with you. I think it's the best playoff atmosphere.
yeah.
One of the best playoff atmospheres in baseball.
It's just the fan base in Toronto. I mean, again, Canada itself, they just get into it. But specifically with Toronto, for a fan base that has just been starving for something like this, it does give you goosebumps when you hear it.
So that's a good side. You want to hear the bad side? You want to hear the Mariners call of the George Springer home run?
I love
This would be
sadness,
sad.
so let's taste some tears.
This is the Mariners radio network.
Here comes the pitch from Bizzardo. Swung on. That is hit high, deep left field, and it is gone. George Springer, 3-run home run. Blue Jays lead 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th. 96, almost right over the heart of the plate. Just didn't execute it. Worst possible spot.
Just listen to the trajectory of that man's sentence. It was just more
96.
and more deflating.
Heart of the plate.
Right down the middle.
Then you got the freaking goal horn on in the background.
It's like
You can
4-3.
hear everybody else. It's pandemonium in Toronto. And these guys are just like, are you
4-3.
kidding me? Because you could
Bottom
feel
of
it.
the 7th.
The Mariners were like, if they get out of that inning, I think they're going to the World
Oh yeah,
Series.
that was the inning that was going to
That was the
decide that game.
And T-Bone, I know you hated the decision to go with the middle inning reliever as opposed to the closer in that spot. I agree with you. I think that's what most managers do in that spot. But I think you could feel it as you were watching the game because you're going to the heart of the order there. Even if you end up, George Springer gets a single, which makes it a 3-2 game, something like that. You've still then got to go through the heart of the order where I think Cal Raleigh was coming up next. That was a huge spot in that game. Or excuse me, Cal Raleigh coming up next. You've got the middle of the order for the Toronto Blue Jays coming up next. I think you should have gone to your closer, but obviously, it's hindsight. It's 2020. It did not work out well for them with what they decided to do.
Especially because it's the 8th inning, too. So, you can just, carry him over into the 9th. It's not like you're asking him to eat, 2 1/3 innings pitch there. Just brutal. I got to say, I think that might be the worst way to lose a baseball game is, you have it in your grasp. You're, 4 or 5 outs away. Mm-hmm. And then you give up the 3-run ball. I'd rather get blown out in Game 7. At least I know early on that it's over. Good season. This is you're on the verge of feeling the first World Series appearance in franchise history. And then you go to your setup man and he gives up a 3-run bomb to a guy that's on one knee.
So the human side of it, I don't know how that guy gets through that. If I'm the relief pitcher that gives that up, my offseason is going to be miserable, and I don't know how what's his face, Odor, and the Rangers and Cardinals won in 2011. It's that dude's career was done. Brad Lidge found a way to come back from it, but I don't know how those guys survive as humans off of that.
I don't either. The ability of professional athletes to just put stuff behind them and continue to move on, it's something that will never cease to amaze me. I would hold that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever live that down.
I'd never be able to sleep. It would eat at me. I'd lose weight. It's just unhealthy.
So,
maybe healthy.
A couple other things from the Mariners post game now, Alex.
Ooh, let's not do that.
Let's go inside the clubhouse where Brian Wu was being interviewed and go ahead and take a listen to what Julio Rodriguez's reaction was to the game.
But what ultimately do you feel like the legacy of this team is going to be, having gone as further than any other team in franchise history?
That, legacy is no one's really satisfied or happy with this. I think
You clipped. That wasn't. No.
I promise you, that was everything. That was.
That's almost as good as when Connor McDavid was losing his mind in the locker room and they were interviewing somebody in the hallway. And you just hear McDavid losing his mind.
That is Julio Rodriguez in the shower.
God.
According to reports. Obviously not thrilled.
Poor guy.
Hey, Cal Raleigh, how are you feeling about your season?
I'm super proud of these guys. It was a great team effort. Love every guy in this room, but ultimately it's not what we wanted, and it's I hate to use the word failure, but it's a failure, and that's what we expected, was to get to a World Series, win a World Series, and that's what the bar is and the standard is, and that's what we want to hold ourselves accountable to.
Good mindset to have, man. That's a leader right there. And I know nobody in Seattle. I mean, it feels like a failure. Still a success when you get a couple of months into the offseason and realize what you just did, and you could hopefully capitalize on it.
They've
but
never gotten further than this.
Yeah.
Game 7 of the ALCS is the furthest that this team has ever been in franchise history. So in so many ways, it's a success. Yeah. But it's a failure.
Yeah. And if you're the Mariners, like, you build off of something like this, your core is in place, you've got the guys returning. I know it feels like a failure, but I mean
this was their all-in year. I mean, their deadline was, hey, we're bringing in guys to upgrade the offense and Suarez and Naylor and deplete our farm system. Like,
the overwhelming likelihood is you will never get a better year out of Cal Raleigh. You might never get a better year out of Julio Rodriguez. Your pitching staff will probably never be as healthy or as in their prime as they were this year. The overwhelming likelihood is, and I know it's hard to say this in the moment, and it sounds overly dramatic. I hope that it's not that way. I don't think it is. This was probably their best chance to win a World Series, was this year. And in one swing of the bat and one decision by your manager, it's gone. Just like that. That is how cruel this game can be, man, because this was a good team. It was a really good team. It was a well-constructed roster. You had an MVP year out of Cal Raleigh. You did this in Seattle. Like, they finally put together the roster. They invested the way that they needed to. And maybe they're able to back it up. Or maybe this was the year that Texas had a couple of years ago that they took advantage of, and then it's done. Just the way that it was in Texas, or the way that it was that year after in Arizona. And now suddenly their moment is over, and you go back to all of the traditional powers in the American League, which is the most likely scenario here. Baseball, man, it is a cruel, cruel sport.
If there's one thing, though, that we've gotten out of this, it's this Julio Rodriguez clip. I mean, think about this for a minute, guys. It plays into everything. Like, watch. Guys, Nolan Arenado is not willing to get traded. He's going to be on the Cardinals next year. Guys, Dom just released another piece, and the Blues are bad again. BK is going to say that this line doesn't make any sense. Mizzou's probably going to beat Vanderbilt this weekend. Works for anything.
I had the Bucks plus 5.5 last night. We'll talk about that next year at 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So the Lions played last night. Apparently, so did the Bucks. Wouldn't have known it based upon the score of the game. Well, they did not look good in that game, Alex.
Their people were hurt, right? And
Start
that's hurt
to
them
finish,
already.
just looked outclassed by Detroit. And then on the other side of things, Texans versus the Seahawks, a game that didn't end until like 12:30 a.m. our time.
Alex was asleep.
Seahawks just outclassed the Texans. I know that score looks close. The game did not feel close for about 95% of it. Alex, we had 3 teams on the NFC side of the bracket that I think we view as some level of contenders that played last night. Bucks, Lions, and Seahawks. What did we learn about them?
I mean, what I learned about them is the Lions are the best, if not tied for the top team in the NFC. And I say tied because I do think you have to put the Rams into that conversation. We haven't seen them go head-to-head. I don't know if we get to see them go head-to-head this season, but I watch the Lions play every single week and feel like that first game that they lost of the season was an anomaly. I mean, their offense is just from top to bottom elite when you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown and then both running backs. And their defense, I know that Tampa Bay lost Evans and they only had Egbuka, so they looked good in that one. And it's hard to kind of judge them in that sense. But, man, it just feels like as bad as we say that the Lions are defensively, they keep finding ways to eliminate the opposition. So I'll hear the argument on the Rams because it's hard to deny how good that offense has been. And on top of that, their defense is coming up pretty stingy. But I watch Detroit play every week, and I say that's the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that game because, like, I looked at Detroit, and they were so beat up that I expected Baker to continue to do what he had been, which was remain in the MVP conversation and pick apart the Lions' defense. And, yes, he lost Mike Evans, and Egbuka had been dealing with something in the week. But we've seen him without his weapons be able to pick apart other defenses across the NFL.
Last week against the 49ers.
Exactly. So he couldn't do this against the beat-up Lions defense. I felt like it was one of those games where, yes, Detroit is good. I agree they are a contender. Their defense still worries me, even after last night's performance, because I think it told us more about the Buccaneers and that, hey, Baker's really good. He can't keep getting away with this without his weapons, right? When he is down his weapons, he's not going to constantly be able to be the guy that we've seen that remains in the MVP conversation. I felt that was more of my takeaway from that game was, okay, so the Lions, yes, good team, good offense. We'll see about the defense. Impressed by their performance last night. Tampa Bay doesn't fall into this category without all their weapons. I just don't think Baker can sustain what he had been doing.
I think we have clearly established a top tier in the NFC. And I think it includes 4 teams. And I'm not sure any of these have really broken apart from the others. My top tier right now in the NFC would be the Packers, the Lions, the Eagles, and the Rams. I think those 4 teams are clearly better than all of the rest of the teams in the conference. I think tier 2 includes 3 teams, and on any given day, they can compete with those tier 1 teams, but I don't think over the course of the season they are as good as the top tier teams. And those 3 teams in tier 2 for me are the Bucks, the Seahawks, and the 49ers. And I think those teams are really good, and they're fun, and they could, like, the Bucks could beat the Rams. The Seahawks could beat the Packers. The 49ers could beat the Lions, especially if those teams are at home. I would not be picking them in any of those individual games. And over the course of 17 games, I think those top 4 teams are better. Do you guys disagree with that? I think there's then like Cowboys, Bears, Falcons. Those are all just interesting teams that I don't view as like the same level of contenders. But I think the NFC, the top is not as good as the top of the AFC. It's kind of like the Big Ten. Big Ten has the big teams, and then like the middle is pretty soft. That's kind of how I feel about the AFC. Whereas the NFC is kind of like the SEC this year, where there's a bunch of really good teams. I'm not sure that any of them are truly elite, though, and so you kind of have to tier them out instead of power ranking them.
I disagree on the Bucks because I think when healthy, Bucks are a top-tier team. I think that offense is now defensively, they're going to give up points, but I could say the same thing about Detroit. Offensively, I believe that's a top-tier team. And I don't know if they're going to be healthy again. It sounds like Evans is out, significant time.
He might miss the rest of the year.
Godwin's in and out. Egbuka's where he's at. Bucky Irving. So I think this plays into yours saying they're a second tier because they're not going to get those weapons back. But man, when they were healthy, I thought that was a number 1 offense that could go out there and do the same thing that Detroit continues to do.
Yeah. See, the only part that I disagree with, because I agree with your tiers, the only one I disagree with is I would actually bump the Packers down into the second tier. I don't know that they're one of the 4 best teams in the NFC because I only think there's 3. that are really good, and that would be the Rams, the Eagles, and then the Lions fall into that.
It's
I just
Tuesday,
don't trust
so
the
I'm going to
Packers.
believe in them again.
Of course, yeah. Yesterday, also
Tuesday
like,
through Saturday, I believe in the Packers. Sunday and Monday, I'm like, are they good? I don't know.
Also, for the Eagles, I could hear the argument that they're not a top-tier team
They're
because
the same as the Packers.
Yeah, right
you
now,
watch them on Sunday, and you're like, this team isn't good.
Right now, it feels like it's the Rams and Lions because I'm confident every single week that team will show up.
The thing, though, is with both the Packers and the Eagles, they keep winning. Like, they don't look good in doing it, but they always come out on top, kind of similar to what the Chiefs were last year, where I just have to respect the fact that they do just enough, regardless of what that means. Like the Eagles this past week, 350 yards passing through the air. Looked awesome. A couple of weeks ago, could not throw the football in the second half. I think had 0 completions in the second half. Yeah. So they just, whatever is necessary on any given week to get the win, the Eagles seem to do that.
And here's where I kind of separate the Packers from that group and why. And the Eagles I have a tough time with because, like, the Chiefs, yes, I agree with what you were saying, and I even agree with it last year because, like, they have Patrick Mahomes, right? He's the best quarterback of this generation, and the Chiefs were proven winners. So when you go up against them, I've always said this: how do you beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? You have to play perfect football, you know. And I think the Eagles have earned a little bit of that. It's not that I trust their quarterback; I don't trust Hurts really at all, but they've proven to be winners. Packers don't fall into this. Like, Jordan Love hasn't earned the right for me to say, hey, yeah, no, they'll figure it out. Don't worry. Yeah, it's fine. They'll find ways to win, even though they're continuing to do it. And then I look at them in the postseason. They haven't won anything in the postseason when it matters most. So that's where I have a tough time saying, well, yeah, they keep getting away with this. Yeah, but they got to earn it before I really start to say, yeah, okay, they can keep doing this one-score mirage that they're playing right now.
Yeah, so are you putting the Lions into that category? Because the Lions haven't earned that.
I would put the Lions ahead of them because of how big, but they earn almost style points essentially because their offense looks really good. Like that's what I think. Like the Packers, I watch them and it is ugly to win, but then like I just don't look back at them and say, well, they have a history of doing this, so it's okay. I'm not going to panic over them.
The Packers beat them head-to-head.
They beat the Lions this year, yeah. But again, I agree with Alex. I feel like that was the 1 week. I don't. Weird stuff happened week 1 to the Lions, and everything is fine.
I just don't buy into that first week. It felt like that first week was coordinators trying to get their footing set. The players it didn't feel like what I've seen for the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, I'm still a believer in the Packers.
I know you are.
That
You
they'll
love
be
them.
there in the end. How much do I really trust them? Not a whole lot, but I can't honestly say that I trust any of these teams all that much. I think all of them are flawed in their own ways. I think if the Lions get down, that is not a team that I trust. If the Lions are down by 10 points in the third quarter, I don't know how good they are, honestly. I don't think that's a situation that they thrive in. And yes, I know yesterday it looked good defensively. Do I think that's going to sustain over the next 6 weeks? Man, I don't think so. Maybe, but I would be surprised. I think the offense is going to have to be the way they win. The Eagles still can't run the ball. I don't understand why or how. They've got Saquon Barkley, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Can't run. It's weird. The Packers, every week I watch them on Sundays, and the offense just looks disjointed. And then the Rams, I think they're a really good team. But there are times where they don't look like a really great team. So I think all of them are flawed, very similar to what we've seen in the SEC so far this year, where I watch Georgia sometimes and they look like the best team in the country. And I watch them other times, I can't get a stop. Bama, I watch them sometimes like, man, this team's awesome. And then other times the offense gets out of sorts. So I think the NFC is very similar this year to the SEC in a lot of different ways. The one team that we have not mentioned yet that was on display last night, whoo boy, Texans offense stinks.
Specifically, Texans offensive line stinks.
Terrible, dude. And they are the warning sign for any team that has a really solid young quarterback that outperforms expectations for a season. Don't buy into everything that you do and then say, all right, we're one step away. No, you're probably a few steps further away than what you feel like. Commanders, maybe continue investing on things that will help that young quarterback progress his game along. I think the Texans forgot too much about what their limitations were along the offensive line, and it continues to rear its ugly head every single season. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up next, Jeremy Rutherford, Blues Insider, joins us here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here to tell you about my friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, which is coming soon here to the Show Me State. As new Missouri customers can download that DraftKings Sportsbook app today, and when we go live, place just a $5 bet to unlock $300 in bonus bets. Starting November 17th, you can create your DraftKings Sportsbook account here in Missouri and get ready for launch day on December 1st. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when DraftKings Sportsbook goes live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and has fast money withdrawals. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live December 1st. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Blues back in action tonight as they host the LA Kings. We'll have pregame coverage tonight starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario and puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Carber and Joey Vitale. And our Blues insider Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic joins the show next here on BK and Ferrario. This Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See Milanoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Jeremy Rutherford is the Blues insider for The Athletic. He joins us each Tuesday here on BK and Ferrario, does so on the Callier and Thompson hotline. JR, appreciate the time as always, man. Blues back in action this evening against the LA Kings right here on home ice in St. Louis. I am curious, when you look at the way that they are divvying up the playing time in net, this is something that Alex mentioned just a little bit ago. Do you like this close to 50-50 split that they're going with Hofer and Binnington?
Yeah, I don't mind it. This is something that Jim Montgomery did in his time in Boston, and they had two good goaltenders. It was successful there. I think it could be successful here. Jim Montgomery did say a couple weeks ago, you guys probably mentioned it, that it won't be a 50-50 split, but that it'll be closer to even than it was the past couple years when Binnington was, 55 and Hofer was 27, 28. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of Joel Hofer this year, but let's keep in mind, Binnington, and I touched on this in my article today, 32 years old, 340 games played in the league. It's harder on the body. He talks about that in the article, and this is also a Olympic year, and he wants to be obviously at his best for the St. Louis Blues, but he'd like to be in between the pipes for Team Canada, and the more rest he gets, he'll be ready for that come February, and then when the Blues hope they're in the playoffs, he can be ready then as well. So I think that this split, even the younger Jordan Binnington might not want to give up any starts, but maybe older Jordan Binnington might not think it's as bad.
So what you're saying, Jared, is 32 is the new 75? That's my excuse.
I feel like it, yeah.
When you exercise, I'm 35. It just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, and I'm 50, and that's the new 105. So it does change as you get older.
Hey, JR, I did want to bring up, because I know Jim Montgomery said yesterday he wasn't pleased with the practice and then kind of joked around afterwards. But what did he say that stuck out to you?
Yeah, he did say that today. He was asked about it today. And just for some context, asked about yesterday's practice. He said, you guys want the truth or the politically correct answer? And he gave us the politically correct. He said that the guys didn't look sharp early. He said you expect that after a day off on Sunday like they did, but a good, quick morning skate today. He was happy with the execution. And then in terms of what else he talked about, kind of bounced around. Jordan Kyrou feels like he's playing really well. Dylan Holloway, he feels like, I know he said that he was pressing the other day. Today he said that he feels like Dylan Holloway thinking a bit too much. And he went into a little detail saying that even though he's overcome the injury, sometimes when you're dealing with an injury, you come back, your body's compensated for the injured area, and maybe you don't feel like your complete self when you come back. And he said, I don't know that that's exactly what he's dealing with, but he feels like he's thinking too much out on the ice, and he needs to get away from that. And then I'll add this in here, too, is Matthew Kessel. He thought that he played really well the other day. He felt that he was aggressive. The one mistake he made was from being aggressive. And so Matthew Kessel back out there tonight in Logan Mayhew's spot on that third pair defense.
JR, on the injury side of things, it seems as though Sonny is getting closer to his return. When he does come back into this lineup, how do you think it changes the way that they construct their forward group?
Yeah, so I think what you could see is Oscar Sundqvist come back on that fourth line center. I think that Texier, who had one shift in the third period the other night against Dallas, would come out. I think that Nathan Walker would slide to the left side, and I think Nick Bukestad would go in on the right side. You could put Nick Bukestad up on the third line and bring Joseph down, but I think Joseph is playing fairly well, and I think that if you're going to keep those lines intact, and they look pretty good against Dallas, we'll see what happens tonight against L.A., that you might not want to touch the top nine. You just pull Texier out and put Sundqvist in the middle of that fourth line.
Jared, speaking of those lines, you mentioned Holloway and Jim Montgomery saying he was pressing, and Holloway playing with Neighbors and Thomas that last game. And prior to the game, Montgomery basically said, look, we need Thomas and Kyrou to lead. We need them to produce for us. Kyrou did it. Seems like Thomas is pressing a little bit. Has he said anything about that, or has anything stuck out to you about Thomas early on?
No, not specifically, and that's probably a question that we should get to here pretty soon. You know, it's been the 4 or 5 games, and there's been different line combinations, and different guys have kind of shown their stuff at different points. You know, we finally saw it from Jordan Kyrou a couple nights ago against Dallas. We'll see what Robert Thomas can do tonight. But this team isn't going to be the team it can be without a Robert Thomas in both ends. That's below the dots, getting in and setting up shop in the offensive zone, making those passes that we've seen so many times. They've reconstructed the power play a bit to where they're not necessarily a net front presence, but you have Robert Thomas kind of below the goal line, and if he can make some passes there, maybe the power play gets him going a little bit. So, I think we've seen a few glimpses from Robert Thomas, but not the elite number one center that he needs to be so far. So, I'm sure if that trend were to continue, we'll talk to Jim Montgomery about that soon.
We're talking to Jeremy Rutherford for just another little bit here on BK and Ferrario. JR, one of the things that Alex has brought up a number of times, I feel like every day that we start the show, Alex is like, hey, man, this penalty kill. Penalty kill is really good. And you look at the numbers, it's been really solid so far. They're at 80%, roughly midway through, or roughly middle of the pack in terms of the NHL rankings right now. How do you feel about the Blues and what they're doing on special teams at this point in the season, JR?
Yeah, I think pretty good so far. I mean, they have had to change the units with the power play from what they started at the beginning of the season. Now you got Kyrou and Thomas next to each other. We'll see what happens with the power play. But I think penalty kill, look, that was bottom of the league a lot of last season. And then when Jim Montgomery came in, it came up a little bit and, got to respectable level. It has to be better. Both units have to be better. Like, I think for this team to be a true contender, they probably both got to be in the top 15, and they're not there yet. But I think most importantly, you're starting to see some good signs early, some good structure, especially on the penalty kill. You're starting to see some, individual effort that looks better than what we've seen in the past. And I know you guys have talked about it, but the 6-on-5 against has looked pretty good, and that was a huge bugaboo last year. So I think the early indications are that, at least the penalty kill looks better and the power play probably get going. But they're definitely not where they need to be just yet.
Blues back in action tonight against the LA Kings. It'll be a 7 o'clock puck drop. Alex will have your pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock. You can read, by the way, JR's latest piece on Jordan Bennington.
Awesome
really
piece.
Enjoyable read on the maturation of Jordan Bennington, both on and away from the ice. Really good piece, JR. We appreciate the time as always. We'll be certainly reading all of your great coverage over at The Athletic.
Sounds good. Thanks, boys.
You got it. That's Jeremy Rutherford joining us as he does each and every Tuesday here on BK and Ferrario.
There's one piece or one part in JR's piece on Bennington that I really enjoyed was him talking about the potential statue outside Enterprise Center. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of if the Blues re-up him or if they decide to let him walk when he becomes a free agent in a couple of years. But, man, by the time his time is up in St. Louis, he is going to be the winningest goaltender. He's going to have the most games played. He's going to have a Stanley Cup, which no other goaltender has in Blues history. I mean, it's hard to see a scenario where he does not have a statue or his number is not retired as a St. Louis Blue legend by the end of it all.
I mean, him and I'm guessing, depending on how things go from here, him and Parayko will probably be the two that were on that Cup team that have the best chance to do that.
Yeah, and Shen.
Yeah, sure.
Shen might not have the numbers to back it up, but it might be one of those internal. But, yeah, I mean, Parayko's going to have the most games played, might have the most points by a defenseman by it's all said and done. Yeah, I would say those are going to be the two that you really look at and you can kind of see in the sense, which, again,
and Benner's definitely one on that list.
Yeah.
Like, if you were going to throw another person into that category, I think it's a little bit surprising, but Parayko's probably number 2.
Yeah, and then, I mean, you just go through the list with Pietrangelo and Tarasenko as well. Those are the other two guys that you put into the conversation. But it's crazy to think for how many incredible goaltenders that the Blues have had in their organization with Fuhr, with Mike Liut, with Cujo, when you go all the way back to at the beginning. Like, to sit there and say Jordan Bennington, who was a guy that I think a lot of people looked at as like, who the bleep is this guy? And now he's at this point where Sundqvist, Holford, Montgomery all agreed could be seen a statue and his number up in the rafters is pretty incredible.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone on BK. Coming up next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers here on BK and Ferrario. Oh, baby, the NBA is back starting tonight. Rockets versus the Thunder. Warriors versus the Lakers. I know LeBron's not going to be out there for this one, but you know I'm going to be watching, Alex. And I'll have all of my action over on the Underdog app, and you can join in right now. Underdog is the best place to get in on the action. You can make all of your entries and win right now here in the state of Missouri. Alex, I checked out my Underdog app earlier today. I have a promo, 30% bonus for me. You should always check it out. They have bonuses over there. They potentially have some gimme picks, so make sure you check in the morning for tonight. I've got Kevin Durant. They had a gimme pick for me. I've got the higher 0 points, rebounds, and assists. I also have the higher on Shea and Luka as well, all tonight on the Underdog app.
And the best part about all that is I'm not afraid to use the flex option over on the Underdog app. So download the app today and use promo code BKO to score $100 in bonus funds for bonus entries when you play your first $5. Again, bonus funds or bonus entries, $100 when you play your first $5. Again, promo code BKO. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Three 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Let's go ahead and get into these right now. From the 636, Alex, the Chiefs' weakness appears to be a subpar running game and a good but not dominant defense.
Why'd you say Alex? You're the Chiefs guy. Who
in the AFC can best exploit those two weaknesses? That's actually a really interesting question.
Well, they asked me, so maybe you should let me handle this.
I think what you'd be looking for is the best pass defense possible, and then a team that can put up a bunch of points. And I guess the Broncos would be the answer because of their defense, but I don't trust their offense to be able to exploit what the Chiefs have defensively.
Yeah. What about the Patriots?
Yeah, I don't think their defense is at that level. I don't think there's very many great defenses in the AFC right now. I think it's really just the Broncos.
I mean, the
Browns, but they're not a contender.
The Patriots have only given up 6 more points than what the Broncos have given up.
Yeah, I look at the talent.
The Chiefs and Patriots are only 2 teams in the NFL that are top 10 in EPA per play on both sides of the ball.
I would like to look at the opponents that they've played.
Oh, jeez.
They've played the Raiders,
Hit
the
my
Dolphins,
Julio Rodriguez audio.
The Panthers, the Saints, and the Titans. That's 5 of their 7 games so far this year. You guys know I like the Patriots. I think they're good. I went back and forth before the season on whether or not I could see them making the playoffs. I just think their defense is maybe being a little overstated right now. It's good. It's good, but I don't think it's great.
Enough with your tone over there.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. A couple of people saying the Colts are that team. Maybe.
I don't trust
think
the
their
Colts
defense
offense.
is great.
I agree.
If we're talking in the playoffs, I don't trust their offense.
Yeah, I think that would have to be a shootout, and I don't think that. Listen, man, I understand what the record says, but I don't think that the Colts can keep up with the Chiefs in a playoff game. I think that Steve Spagnuolo is going to put together a pretty darn good game plan to be able to shut that offense down.
I think Daniel Jones will see ghosts in that game.
My honest-to-God answer is it's still the Bills. They're the only team that I see as a Chiefs fan that concerns me, and it's purely because of Josh Allen. I don't think that defense can get stops, and I think it would have to be like a 41-38 type of game where both teams, it's just who gets the ball last, and they create a turnover.
I agree.
I think it's going to come down to if you're going to beat the Chiefs, you're going to have to outscore them in the final drive. And the only guy that I trust in that scenario is Josh Allen.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 636. Hey, guys, my wife and I planned a trip to Nashville 2 months ago for this Mizzou game against Vandy. We bought tickets for $70. They're at the 50-yard line. Now they're getting $400 a piece. Do we consider selling? It depends. How much do you need the money? Like, if you really just want this experience, you want to be around game day on the day of the game, and you're a huge Mizzou fan and you don't need the money, go to the game, man. You're not going to regret having that opportunity to go see this game in person. It'll be a really cool experience for you, again, especially if you're going to go to the game day stuff. If you just bought the tickets because you're like, what the hell, why not? And you don't really care about Mizzou that much, and you kind of need the money right now, take the money, dude. There's nothing wrong with that. Make a profit.
I would take the money. I could always watch the game from home. I mean, I'd love to be there, but if that money is sitting in front of me, I'll watch it for free at home.
See, I would say go to the game. Like, how often are you going to get to go on the road to, let alone Nashville?
No kids? Kids.
Exactly. I understand. I totally get why you would want to make the $400
What, 15 matchup? Don't see that very often in person, especially with Mizzou.
If you don't need the money, I think the experience, and I am all about experiences, the experience will be worth it.
Yep.
But if you need the money, like if you need to, pay for your kids' daycare for next month, and this allows you to do that, that goes $800 goes a long way.
Tuition is expensive, dog.
Game. That doesn't even pay for tuition for a lot of people.
No, it doesn't. But tuition's expensive, dog.
No doubt. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line.
For me, man.
From the 314, is Seattle a good trading partner for the Cardinals this offseason? They could definitely use a good hitter. We could use a young, controlled starting pitcher. Also, didn't we hire an exec that previously worked with the Mariners?
Follow-up question. Who's your good hitter that they would trade you?
I think Donnie would be a great fit there. I think Contreras would actually be a great fit there.
He would make sense. Replace Naylor when he goes in free agency.
Yeah.
I think Contreras would be a great fit for them.
Am I getting an elite arm back? Because that's what I want.
You're
for
not
Contreras, probably not.
I don't think you're getting any other 5 starters at the big leagues. You're getting an arm that's down in the minor leagues, which...
No, that's fine as long as you can identify the right one.
Yeah, I could see it. I was thinking Nootbaar more so heading there, but I do like the Donovan one. Donnie would make some sense for them. Play him at second. Honestly, you play him anywhere that you need to as a utility guy. I think that move could make some sense for the Cardinals, and they did. They hired the pitching coordinator, I think is what his role was. Yeah.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. From Harrison's brother, Master. Guys, Thomas has been bad, and why is Texier still on this team?
Jesus. Thomas has not been bad. Thomas has just not found points right now, offensively. Defensively, I think he's been exactly what you'd expect from him. Guy's got Selke play. It's just you got to have the points that back it up. The Texier one, you want the honest answer? Everybody's hurt.
Yeah.
I think if Sorobchenko and Sundqvist were healthy, he'd be in the press box. And I think if Milan Lucic didn't get injured in training camp, he would have been on waivers. That's my honest opinion.
314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line from the 314. Guys, it sounds like there may be some interest in Max Crosby around the league. Who do you think would be the best fit for him via trade? Saw this, I think it was Trey Wingo who tweeted out that the Cowboys had reached out to the Raiders about potentially trading for Max Crosby. I would be surprised if they traded him. He just recently signed a pretty significant extension. That being said, Max Crosby's awesome. And there are probably 20 teams in the NFL that could use a player like Max Crosby, including the Cowboys, who just traded away a dominant defensive end. So I don't know if that's likely.
T-Bone should take it after you.
I could see the Rams being a really nice landing spot.
I think if the Bills want to beat the Chiefs, the Bills should be in on that.
Bills would be a great
I know they got
spot.
Bosa, but make
Colts
more of it.
Would actually be an awesome spot for him. I think they make a ton of sense.
If the Niners are going to try and be competitive without their defensive players, I think you go after that.
Detroit should be interested in every defensive end that's available. They would never do it in division, but the Chiefs would be such a cool landing spot for Max Crosby. They desperately need another defensive end.
Yeah, they're not sending him.
God, I hope that doesn't happen.
God, the Chiefs, I would give up 2 first-round picks for that guy. He's unbelievable, dude.
Take the Rams approach. Get rid of him.
He's so good.
And he's the only guy that gets into Patrick Mahomes' lap on a consistent basis.
And they love each other. Like, they respect the hell out of one another. You see it every time that they play against each other. You remember, did you watch quarterback at all, Alex?
No.
You did, T-Bone, right? That first series that Mahomes was a part of, you saw the mutual respect that the two have for one another. They'll go after each other, but then between plays, good work. God, I hate it's a fun matchup when those two go up against one another. So if he was
between his crying to the refs if he hit me a little hard and the respect factor, it's there.
Yeah, I'm done with him whining to the officials about every single little thing that happens.
Coming up in 15 minutes, our NFL weekend recap. But next, both of the American League teams represent the model for how the Cardinals could get back into contention. How long is it going to take to get there? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. So the Mariners and the Blue Jays were on full display last night, Alex, and the Blue Jays are now heading to the World Series. The Mariners were a game away, really an inning away from potentially being able to do the exact same thing. So the build that both of these teams have had has worked. And you look at the way that they did it, it really wasn't all that different. You look at the Mariners, and they have a couple of homegrown players, Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez. That's their core. They were able to build around that. And then you look at their rotation. They have built around homegrown pitching. And then they supplement that with talent from the outside. You look at guys that they've brought in. They decide to go out and acquire Luis Castillo and then give him the extension. They, at this year's deadline, have brought in multiple bats that have been able to lengthen their lineup. They have spent the money that is necessary. They've been criticized in the past for not doing so, but this year they did a pretty good job of that. In Toronto, they've spent more money, certainly, than what Seattle has. But you look at the way that they built this roster. They started out with really a big-time bat. It was Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette you could throw into that same category. Those are guys that they were able to develop internally. Now, Bichette was hurt this postseason, but he's been a big part of this build. And then they get an ace, but not internally the way that the Mariners did. They signed theirs. They went out to free agency and acquired Kevin Gausman. And then they make a difficult trade by going out and trading Gabriel Moreno for Dalton Varsho. That was a huge piece of what they've ultimately built there. They supplement this with George Springer, Jose Barrios. They get Shane Bieber this past offseason. Last year, they draft Trey Yesevich, who has become a huge piece of what they're building. That guy was like a mid-20s draft pick in the first round a year ago, and he's already helping them as they get into the postseason now. The builds is basically what the Cardinals are hoping to become. Couple of guys that are homegrown, and then you supplement that with talent from the outside. Alex, as you look at the time that it took for these two teams to get here, though, how far away are the Cardinals from realizing the potential that the Blue Jays and the Mariners are both experiencing from the same type of build that the Cardinals are hoping to go through?
Man, I don't know if people are going to like to hear this, but I mean, I think where you have to start is, one, finding that big bat difference maker. And Guerrero Jr. is that for Toronto, or if you want to go Bo Bichette, I'm going Guerrero because he was there. I mean, they drafted...
Vladdy's the guy.
Yeah, they signed him, internationally in 2015, 16? Yeah. And it's not until probably, 3-4 years ago that it became like, oh, that is a superstar. That's the guy. Now, this year we're celebrating it because...
2020 season, he was good. 2021 season, he won the MVP. So year 3 of him being in the majors is when he took off. He was 22 years old.
5 years in terms of when you brought him over international free agent-wise. So, that's the starting point of, okay, let's say you're at ground zero if you're the Cardinals, to where you've got to go out there and find the guy that you believe is a superstar. Well, you're talking 3, 4, 5 years before you get to that point, and then go to the pitching side of things. The Mariners, for example, if you're going to go the draft and develop side of the pitching, that may take you 3 to 4 years before you get to that point. So if you want to get to this level, I think you're talking somewhere between 4 and 5 years in terms of finding the guy and developing them. The question, I guess, is, can the Cardinals fast pace this and trade some of their pieces to go get somebody who's in another organization that's already started this process?
Yeah, and I think you're talking 3 to 5 years if you've already got that star that's internal, right? It's possible J.J. Weatherholt is the guy that we're talking about that could be that star that you need. He plays second base, and he's up this year, but he needs 2 years like Guerrero to kind of get his footing at the major league level, and then boom, he takes off and he's the starter. And then Doyle is your starter, right? He's your Yesevich, who only made 3 starts, but maybe he's the internal ace. That Yesevich cat looks like he's got incredible stuff, so he might end up being their internal ace. But even if you don't have that, you can go out there and sign pitchers like the Blue Jays did to really supplement your rotation. It just depends, do you have that piece internally, whether it's the ace or the position player? Just got to be one or the other.
I think probably both, ideally.
Ideally, sure, but let's be honest, odds are you're probably not going to hit on both. You may have to go out and sign one that ends up fitting that role or trading for that role. If you have one of those guys internally, I think you're talking 3 to 5 years. If you don't, I don't know how you can put a timetable on it, right? Because you can have supplement pieces, you end up where you were this year as the Cardinals organization, which is like an 85-win team.
And that doesn't mean it has to be 3 to 5 years before you're competitive again. I think this team could get back to being in the playoffs in a couple of seasons. I don't think that's crazy. I know, T-Bone, we disagree on this, and that's fine. But I don't think it's wild to imagine a scenario where this time next year, Cardinals got some good returns on their young players. Maybe J.J. Weatherholt's every bit as good as advertised. Liam Doyle was fast-tracked, and boom, he's up at the big league level. And you're looking around, you're like, all right, they won 82 games in 2026, and they're ready to push once again starting in 2027. I think that's at least in play. I don't believe that's the case for them getting to like true contention the way that we're feeling about the Blue Jays and the Mariners right now. That's where I think you guys are at on the 3 to 5 year plan. It takes a while before you get here. I mean, hell, look at the Toronto Blue Jays, right? Just as an example of what we're talking about here. From 2017 to 2019, they went through a down period. This is coming off of them being a really good team in 2015 and 16, where they went to the ALCS both of those years and lost in the ALCS. They fell short. And that core got a little older, and they had to start rebuilding. They went into the next cycle, the churn of their roster. 2020 COVID season, throw it out. It's fake year, right? 2021, they get good again. They win 91 games. They miss the playoffs, though, because that division is a behemoth. And then they make the playoffs in 22 and 23, but they do not win a game. Do not win a single postseason game. So now they've gone from 2016 to 2024, 0 playoff wins. And then this year, it all comes together and they click and everything is like going in the right way to potentially win the World Series. It comes together quickly. And it can be a surprise sometimes where you just make the right moves and for one season, everything works. This does not mean that next year they're going to be as good as they were this year, though. Like, this could fall apart every bit as quickly as it came together. And that's something you have to be prepared for as an organization. The same thing is honestly kind of true for Seattle. You look back at where they were, 2018 to 2020. Not a very good baseball team. But then starting in 2021 and ever since, they've been in that 85 to 90 win range, and I know people laugh at the idea that you should aim for that 90 win threshold. The reason why teams do it is because of what Seattle became this year. Because when you do that often enough, you might be able to hit the jackpot. You hit the lottery in one of these postseasons, and you end up playing for the World Series. Now, they were an inning away. They didn't ultimately get there, but this team was good enough to be able to potentially get to the World Series and have the right to lose in 4 against the LA Dodgers.
Yeah, well, this is all fun and fine and dandy, but when the Dodgers keep dodgering, it doesn't really matter how you build your team because you're out in 4 games.
Yeah, but we're about having fun on the show.
Are we?
Yeah.
Are we?
And getting to a World Series is fun, gosh darn it.
I did the whole...
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot
Toronto
funner
right
than
now,
what we saw this year in St. Louis.
Toronto right now is celebrating, and they should be.
I did the whole...
And they might get their teeth kicked in, but who
in
cares?
game 1.
I did the whole have fun, and it really wasn't fun for 5 years. So, like, can we move past that now?
Yeah, but that was for fraudulent 5 years. And really, like, what, 1 playoff appearance from the Cardinals? 2?
Yeah, but BK kept selling me on, like, just get to the playoffs.
22 was
anything
good. 22 was a legit good
I agree
team.
with
That
22.
team could have made it on a run.
21, we were really stretching ourselves.
They won 17 in a row. It's the same thing as the Blues
Yeah,
last
but
year, right? Like, we
no.
convinced
Yeah,
ourselves.
but at
We
least
all
the
kind of
Blues
knew in
made
the
it
back of our
competitive
mind.
in the playoffs.
So did the Cardinals. 2021, the Cardinals, it was a 1-game setting. They lost on a walk-off to the Dodgers.
Yeah, but your guys couldn't hit the baseball.
Yeah, understood, but sometimes that happens
Blues
in a
couldn't
1-game
defend 6
setting.
on 5.
Yeah, that was
like,
a problem
come
all
on.
year.
Get out of here.
That was a problem all year, though. Cardinals actually
The
could
reason
hit
I say that
until
about
they got to the
Cardinals
playoffs.
in 21 is because, like, you looked at their pitching, it's like, last year's our game 2 starter, Jay Happ, like, that's when it was, like, really a stretch.
For sure. From Alden Gonzalez of ESPN.com, the Angels are on the verge of hiring Kurt Suzuki as their next manager. He's 42 years old, spent 16 years as a major league catcher, has spent the last 3 years as a special assistant in the Angels organization. They just love hiring their own out there in LA.
Well, when you can't get Pujols, I guess you just got to go get whatever you can.
I was wondering if we would get some kind of an announcement. Major League Baseball does not like news to be floated during the World Series. It is rare that it happens. So I was wondering if we would get some kind of news today on one of the hiring fronts. The Angels are the team that has made it official. I wonder if we get something on the Giants today as well. I would have to imagine some kind of a decision is coming, one way or the other, on whether or not Vitello is going to take that job out there.
That would make sense, yeah, especially because it's been floated around. And I think it said it was going to take a couple of days.
Yeah.
So I would think that we would be getting that announcement either today or like through Thursday because the World Series starts on Friday.
Do you guys have any thoughts on Kurt Suzuki as the next manager of the Angels, other than that this is going to be irrelevant 24 hours from now?
Yeah, you could have hired Bruce Bochy, and I would have thought the team was going to be bad. So,
Yeah. That's
Doesn't
pretty much
matter.
my thought process.
I do like that there seems to be a new trend of former major leaguers that are now becoming managers at the major league level. This is something they kind of went away from for a little while. It used to be the norm, and then we went away from it, and now it appears that former major leaguers becoming managers is once again going to become a thing.
You don't like the old recycled, that guy was a manager last year and we'll bring him in this year?
I like getting new blood.
I do too. I wish more
this year's
leagues would do this.
Stephen Vogt with Cleveland Guardians, he's had some success since taking over as the manager there. We've seen this work at times. Now, we've also seen it fail spectacularly. We don't know which direction it'll go, but I think it's cool to see some of these former major leaguers that are getting back into the game in this capacity.
I don't know Kurt very well, but I got to lean on how I think this one's going to go.
It'll fail there, but he might be a good manager somewhere.
Okay.
Alongside T-Bone and Alex on BK, NFL Weekend Recap next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to tell you about my friends over at Classic Air Care. Been around since 1926, making people comfortable, and they're built on that incredible customer service and the knowledge and experience that you have with their technicians. Some of these guys have been around for 30, 40 years of experience that are working over at Classic Air Care, and you feel that when they come to your home, when they check out the unit, when they clean it, fine-tune it, give you the advice that they believe is best for the health of that HVAC system. And if you've got an older unit, well, now is the time of the year to potentially switch that up before it gets super cold outside. Before you kick that furnace on consistently, check out the options that they have over at Classic Air Care. They do have financing options over there for you, and you can find out the price of a new system by the comfort of your home. They offer those free estimates on their website. You go to classicaircare.com and click on Instant HVAC System Quote. You get 4 simple questions answered, and they'll give you a price right there on your browser. So schedule online today. Get them to come out for the new unit, or check out the maintenance agreement for your older one. It's Classic Air Care and classicaircare.com.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. This is a real text that we just got, Alex. From the 917. BK, serious question, not a shot at you. What brand of beard hair dye do you use? I have similar beard and hair color, and I want to know what brand you're using. Thanks, man.
It's called Real Hair for Men. That's what BK uses.
Hey, man.
Tone it up.
God gave this to me. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing that it looks like I dye my beard. I swear I do not.
It's a good-looking color, man.
Thanks, man. Black, jet black, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good-looking color.
Thanks, dude.
You gotta get that stuff that puts the salt and pepper in it, though.
Yeah, you do have some more salt coming through lately.
There's a lot of salt rather than pepper.
Yeah, when you grow it out,
it's
they
the only
really
spot
start
too.
to show through.
It's the only spot. I don't have anywhere else.
Do you have anything going on up here?
I have like a couple of strands of hair. I'm glad you said up here because somebody that's just listening to the radio has no idea what we're talking about.
The head.
There's a couple. Well, no, would have done that one. The top of your head. The top of your head.
Your hair on your
top
head.
of your face. That one works out a little bit better. There's a couple of like straggles up there that little gray, but it's all right here.
Are you one of those that like when they see gray hair have like a?
I don't care.
No, you don't care?
No,
okay.
I don't care. No, that's what I sound like when I pluck the gray hairs out of it.
Heard that. All right, let's get into our NFL weekend recap. Alex, for you, when you look back at what we saw over the last, I don't know, man, the NFL week seems like it lasts forever at this point in time. But since the start of Sunday, 9 a.m.
Literally 2 days, man, but sure.
I know, but like we now every weekend have this international game at 9 a.m. And then you've got the noon slate, then you got the 3, then you've got the evening, and then on Monday night you've got the 6 and the
a little,
9 o'clock.
Little football fatigue is what you're saying?
Honestly, a little bit. I feel like they're being greedy.
T-Bone made fun of me for saying I got a little football fatigue.
I think they're being greedy.
Just ridiculous.
Honest answer. Do you guys wake up for the London games?
No.
Okay.
I wake up and it's halftime, and I'm like, oh, cool, football.
That's kind of my reaction as well. It's the same way that I do game day on Saturdays.
Yep.
Oh, cool, it's 10 o'clock. I'll throw game day on. I don't have to watch starting at like 7 a.m. or whatever.
No, I'm not that avid into it, so no.
Okay, let's start here. The team that impressed you the most this weekend was who?
That's the Colts, man. And I don't know if they should impress me because it's the Chargers, but like we went into the season saying the Chargers were a really good team, and now the Chargers, yes, they're injured, but man, the Chargers at least have a really good defense, and the Colts put up 38 points. So I just continue to be impressed by the Indianapolis Colts, so they would be the one that I was most impressed with.
Mine would be the Eagles. Hey, we can throw the ball. Like I've been on them all year long, and Alex has said, "Hey, relax, calm down. They're going to figure it all out." And it finally clicked into place for them. If that's what their offense starts to look like, and they didn't run the ball great again, that continued to be a problem. But they finally got AJ Brown involved. I didn't see him tweet anything after the game.
No, he actually did this morning.
Did he?
Yep, he sent out something on Instagram.
Was he happy? He was happy?
Let me see the exact quote so I don't screw this up.
While you're looking that up, T-Bone, the 636 would like to know what beard dye you use.
I don't need any.
It's called
using
clear.
Me,
but
not using me.
What does that mean?
Ode to AJ Brown. That's the new cologne.
Using me, but not using me. That was AJ Brown's Instagram
Stop whining. God, it's so annoying.
Yeah,
stop whining, man.
Can I change my answer to the Colts
You're in
now?
the NFL and your team's awesome. Just shut up and play, man.
It is very annoying.
God, I'm just sick of it.
I saw somebody say the other day, I can't remember who this was, but they were on a podcast. They were like, what exactly does Sirianni do? Because he doesn't call plays. He's not like a scheme guy.
Cries.
He's supposed to be there for vibes, but the vibes seem terrible in Philadelphia all the time. Everybody seems generally miserable. So what exactly is Sirianni there for? What's the use of this individual?
I don't know, man. I just, you know what? Like, demand to trade A.J. Brown so that they trade you. Go play for a team that's going to win 3 games this year. Go to Carolina and miss the playoffs every single season, but you're going to get 13 balls thrown to you.
My answer is the Rams. They were unbelievable on Sunday morning. In that game that I watched starting in like the second
quarter.
Just
complained about it, man.
By the time that I got up, they were already up 14-0. It was basically
the Jaguars.
Devontae Adams didn't have a huge game, but his impact was felt in a massive way because he had the 3 touchdowns. Only had 5 catches for 35 yards. Not crazy numbers, but man, the 3 touchdowns were obviously massive. If I had to go a second option here that we haven't really spent any time talking about, the Chicago Bears are pretty interesting to me. They're figuring out the running game. They looked really good against the Saints. That felt like a trap game situation. They're coming off of this big win, emotional victory against the Commanders on Monday, and then they've got a short week at home against the Saints prior to traveling on the road against the Ravens, getting Lamar back. So it felt trap game like.
Oh yeah, I made
for them to be able to perform that way, I was really impressed.
Cowboys would be another one I'd put in, and it's the Commanders. But man, that offense is going to be tough to stop, and they can win in shootout football games, which means they can make the playoffs.
All right, on the other side of it, team that you were most disappointed in this past weekend, Alex.
Is it weird to say the Packers?
No, I think that's fair.
Because
I know they won, but they didn't look good in the process.
That's the thing. It's like, cool, you won, but man, the Cardinals are not good. And Jacoby Brissett might be better than Kyler Murray, but Packers, that's a game you should just spank them around on, too. Like, you were coming out of a bye, or not a bye, they were coming off of the win against the Cincinnati Bengals. Their offense just doesn't impress me to the level that I think it should if they're a serious Super Bowl contender. So that would be the one that I'm disappointed in. I'm losing faith in that team.
Mine would be the Chargers. I know they're dealing with injuries and the tackle situation stuff. Man, they couldn't stop the Colts at all in that contest, and they can't run the football anymore. Like, it doesn't feel like a Harbaugh football team. And I don't know if that's because of the injuries or we're using that as just an excuse to cover up for what's just an average football team. A team that started 2-0 that we were all really impressed with, and I said, boy, they might be able to take advantage of the Chiefs in their down period and win the division. And now I look at them and go, I don't even know if they can make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Playoffs?
They looked really bad yesterday. I'll add another team. I know they won this football game as well, to go with something similar to Alex. The Broncos gave up 32 to the New York Giants and needed 33 unanswered in the fourth quarter just to be able to win the football game.
I know.
That can't happen, man. Can't be giving up that kind of offense against the Giants without their number one receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson went for 95 yards through the air. Scatterbo didn't even have some huge game, but I don't know, man.
Maybe Jackson Dart's that good.
Maybe. I don't think so, though.
Okay, cool. Bleep me.
The Broncos, to me, I know they had that big win against Philadelphia, but over the past couple of weeks, there's just been some weird stuff with them.
Another one, too, which I don't know if I had any intrigue with them, but the Jets.
Did you see the latest news?
No, what's that?
Woody Johnson, their owner, is speaking to reporters at the NFL meetings in New York City. He said, quote, I have faith and confidence, end quote, in Aaron Glenn, believes that he can turn it around. He also added that the team can start winning, quote, if we just complete a pass, end quote. Did not want to weigh in on Fields versus Taylor, but according to Rich Cimini of ESPN.com, it's clear where this is headed with Tyrod Taylor as the new quarterback for the Jets.
We don't want to pick between Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields. Both are bad. What are we doing? Yeah. Go out there and hopefully draft. Yeah, go draft a quarterback or something. But really, you put up 6 points against the Panthers, and Bryce Young was even out in that game. I don't know. I shouldn't have any hope about that team. It's just come on, that's embarrassing.
Which team do you leave this week having the most questions about, good or bad? You just feel like there are unanswered questions about the team that you watched over the week.
Mine's the Bears. I mean, you guys keep saying the Bears are a good team. The Bears are the good team. Guys, they're going to be a good team at the end of the season because of their record, but they are not playing competitive teams. That makes me feel like this is the turning point for the Chicago Bears. It would not surprise me if they go out there and win the next 5, and then they lose 4 in a row when they play the Eagles, Packers twice, and the Browns. They're the ones that are confusing to me. I don't think Caleb Williams is a winning quarterback, but right now they're winning, so that's the one I'm confused by.
Yeah, mine was the Broncos. I mean, you just mentioned them. I don't know what to make of them. They keep winning. They're, 5-2 on the year? But yeah, BK said it right. They gave up 32 points to the New York Giants, and it took this miraculous comeback, one that we've only seen, I think, happen twice in NFL history. Am I going to buy into you as this team that can be a contender in the AFC or a threat to the Chiefs when we get to the playoffs? No, I have too many questions about Bo Nix being your franchise quarterback now.
If I'm going to go with somebody as a confused, I'll go from last night's game. I think my answer is going to be the Seahawks. And the reason why is because when I watch that defense, I see championship caliber. That defense is really good. And I watch the offense, and there are elements of it that I think are really quite compelling. Smith and Jigba is having a ridiculous season right now. He has been the leading receiver for the Seahawks in every single week so far this year. And it seems as though every game is like 10 for $150. But then I sat down to watch most of that game yesterday, and so much of it is reliant upon the deep ball or the intermediate game. It's like everything is 10 plus yards down the field. And so when it hits, man, it looks great. It's a perfect pass from Sam Darnold right into the outstretched arms of Jackson Smith and Jigba. But when it doesn't, they don't have a whole lot of other easy button answers. And so I do wonder, when they get into the meat of their schedule or we get into a playoff scenario, how is that going to look in those settings? Is it going to work when we get into January? My belief is no, because so far this year, they've really played against two legit contenders, and they lost both of those games, San Francisco and Tampa Bay. But can it? I don't know. We'll see. That would be the team that I leave this week having some conflicting thoughts about is what we saw last night from the Seattle Seahawks. All right, he's Alex. That's T-Bone on BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. In 15 minutes, we're going to dive into the junk drawer. But next, is Vanderbilt's defense as good as it's being cracked up to be? I've got some numbers that might indicate the answer to that question is no. We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN. It is time to unlock your inner champion, and the place to do so is with Victory Men's Health. Check them out today. They have 4 great locations across the St. Louis area, and they are online where you can read all about them at victorymenshealth.com. When you get to their website, you'll be able to book that first appointment. It is an incredibly easy process. victorymenshealth.com. Click the Book Now tab. You can put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. There are many ways that they can do so, whether it is solving your erectile dysfunction issues, helping you meet those weight loss goals that you're trying to get to, or maybe you're feeling some low testosterone symptoms. Could be you just don't have the same energy that you did in your 20s, maybe your early 30s, or you're not getting the same amount of results out of your workouts. If you're feeling that, they can test those levels for you and find out exactly where you're at on your low testosterone or on your testosterone levels. They can do all of that at Victory Men's Health. Check them out today, victorymenshealth.com. That's victorymenshealth.com to unlock your inner champion.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Blues back in action tonight as they host the LA Kings. Well, pregame coverage tonight starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario and puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Carber and Joey Vitale. And the LA Angels have announced their next manager as they will be hiring the former catcher Kurt Suzuki. The Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See him at Londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
All right, Alex, so earlier this week, we were talking about the Mizzou versus Vandy game, and, man, I think for most people, they're looking at it and saying, oof, Mizzou's offense didn't perform all that well against Auburn last week, and look, another big test this weekend coming up against a Vandy defense that's great. And you look at some of the numbers, and it's true. Like, T-Bone, you brought up something yesterday that when we were talking about this, right, about how good Vandy's defense is so far this season.
Yeah, they're like 13th against the rush so far this year in all of college football.
Traditional metrics, you look at it, you're like, God damn, this seems really good. Going to be a tough task here. And they are. They're good. They're a good defense overall. But I think so much of that is built upon stuff that just doesn't matter, and it doesn't translate. It's kind of similar, honestly, to the Mizzou offense, where you can look at the Mizzou overall numbers, and you're like, oh, man, that's a top 10 offense in the country. But you watch them against Bama or against Auburn, even against South Carolina at times, it's a good offense. It's good. It's certainly not a top 10 offense in the country, though, in basically any respect. But they put up these crazy numbers against their non-conference slate. Welcome to Vanderbilt's defense, where they have played this year against Charleston Southern, Georgia State, Utah State, Virginia Tech, who hasn't been great, and South Carolina, whose offense is not great, as we saw in the Missouri game this year. So really, you're looking at two games that you can actually judge this Vanderbilt's defense, and it's what they've done over the last 2 weeks against Alabama and against LSU. It's been fine. Not great, but fine. You look at one metric that ESPN put out earlier today. They wrote about it. It's called stop rate. Alex, it's super simple. How often do you get stops defensively?
That makes sense.
And you don't allow a field goal or a touchdown on that drive. In that metric, Vandy's like 80th in the country. They're basically the same this year as Kansas in stop rate. We saw
they weren't a good team.
Not a great defense. You want to go a little bit more traditional-wise? Vandy's giving up almost 3.8 yards per carry on the season. That's their rush defense, which is supposed to be very imposing. For context, Auburn's at 2.7 yards per carry. This is against conference teams so far this season. Auburn's giving up 2.7 yards per carry, which is third best in the SEC. Alabama is much more similar to what we're seeing out of Vandy than what we saw out of Auburn. So as I started to look a little bit more at this, my vibe for this game, Alex, is very different than it was a week ago. Mizzou could still lose, absolutely. I think this test, though, is going to be about Missouri's defense more than it is about Missouri's offense. You should be able to score a little bit on this Vandy defense. Can you get stops, though? Because Vanderbilt's offense scares the hell out of me with Diego Pavia and what he's capable of on that side of the ball.
Yeah, and I think you and I are kind of in the same line of thinking, but mine's so on top of like this narrative is going to be, can Mizzou's defense stop Vanderbilt? I'm not sure they can unless their front line gets to Pavia. So I'm looking at this as, can your offense win in a shootout? Because now, to me, I saw in Alabama that Prabula didn't have the ability to get into that style of football game with Ty Simpson in Alabama. I think this one is going to be a high-scoring game because I'm just not sold that Mizzou's secondary is going to be able to handle Pavia unless the defensive line gets their job done, which I can't rely on that. So now I'm looking at this. Can you put up 30-plus points? Because I think Vanderbilt might be doing that against you. This is going to be, can Prabula lead you to the area that quarterbacks of the past have not been able to do for you?
We got a text from the 618. So Vandy's a terrible team, and Missouri should easily roll over them. No.
Yeah. Oh.
No, Vanderbilt's defense is solid. Auburn's defense is elite.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. And I think that we have made Vanderbilt's defense into something that they're not based upon a lot of their cupcake schedule. That is not to suggest they're bad. Vanderbilt's defense is solid. There doesn't have to be one end of the spectrum or the other. Their defense is honestly very similar to Missouri's offense. I don't think Missouri's offense is bad. I think it's solid. I think it's fine. It's decent. It's middle of the pack. And that's kind of how I view Vanderbilt's defense. They can force turnovers. That's something you got to be really careful of because they've got a good front four. Like, they can get pressure on you, and then they force turnovers with their back end. But they're not traditionally a team that's just going to be able to impose their will upon you the way that Auburn was able to. The aspect of their team that scares me, and this is not what I anticipated going into the season, is their offense. They have an excellent running game, both with Diego Pavia and their two running backs that they're able to use. They also have a couple of awesome tight ends that are matchup nightmares for a team like Missouri that does not have great safeties and coverage. So it's that side of the ball that I fear. It's that side of the ball that I go into this weekend saying that's where this game will be won or lost. I agree with Alex in that regard. Whereas last week, it was the opposite. Mm-hmm. Last week, I went to Auburn, and I think we had a pretty good feel for that game, Alex, with the way that we started discussing it. It was always going to be, man, you're going to have to hold on for dear life defensively, get a bunch of stops because your offense, it's going to take time. They're going to need a bunch of possessions to be able to score against that Auburn defense. And ultimately, finally, they were able to get one more than what they needed.
Yeah, and I agree with what Alex was saying because, I didn't take the deep dive into the numbers when I saw that they still are 13th in rush defense across the country. But, again, like you said, that can all be skewed from their cupcake of a non-con schedule. I mean, Virginia Tech, their one power, air quotes, power four opponent, fired their coach 2 weeks later.
Also, Virginia Tech fired their coach.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's where it just comes down to,
I see what you're saying. Sorry, I thought you meant Virginia Tech's, not my apologies.
Yeah, I was like, what did I...
I just said that.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, had a...
Yeah, we found our new sounder.
I'm sorry, I misheard it
every time.
But with that, I think you guys are probably right. It's going to come down to can Pribula and the offense win in a shootout, and I like the chances for the Missouri Tigers, but the one thing that it gets down to is, can you get ahead early? And the reason I bring that up is look at what happened in the Alabama game. They got behind, and then what happened? We had the conversation of, okay, did they get away from running the football too much? Did they abandon running with Hardy? And you can't allow that to happen against this Vanderbilt team because, I think teams can win in shootouts, but not very often when we say that do we say, well, they win in a shootout because their running back rushed for 250 and scored 4 touchdowns. No, that doesn't happen. When you win in a shootout, it means your quarterback was probably the guy that was wheeling and dealing. And I just don't know if Pribula is capable of that. I think he's a good passer. He's not a great one.
The other thing, and I'm glad you mentioned this about the coming from behind. Vandy's running game can lean on you the way that Alabama did there at the end. Part of the issue for Mizzou in that game, the issue for them in that game is they didn't give the ball back. They had the ball for 7 minutes on one of their drives. So Missouri, from the time that they went down by 2 scores up until they finally got the ball, it had been 10 minutes in game time since they had touched the ball most recently. Then they had a 3 and out, if I remember correctly. Then they finally got the ball back. At that point, you can't run. You just run out of time. And that is something that Vandy is more than happy to do. Last week against LSU, Vanderbilt ran the football 45 times.
Jeez.
For 240 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Oh, my gosh.
For all of the talk about Diego Pavia and what he does as a quarterback, and he's a good one. I think Diego Pavia is really good. His legs are what scare me more than his arm. Through the air last week, he only threw for $160. Yeah. But he killed them on the ground. Crushed them. Had 17 carries for 85 yards, and a lot of that is those third down, 3rd and 6 runs for 7. And you're like, oh, my God, we had the play perfectly defended. Everything about it, we had shut down what they had designed here. And it doesn't matter because Pavia picks up 7 with his legs. And it's infuriating when you're on the opposing side of that.
I don't know about you guys, but this conversation, Mizzou minus 21.5, and they cover.
No, I'm thinking Vandy minus 21.5.
Well, Mizzou covers.
The possession time, by the way, in that game, you mentioned how many times they ran the football. They had the ball 13 more minutes than LSU did on that win.
Yep, 37 minutes in total. It was very similar, honestly, to the Mizzou versus Alabama game. Just Vanderbilt played the role of Alabama, and Missouri played the role of LSU.
Yeah.
It was basically the exact same formula that both of those teams used, and ultimately LSU just came out on the wrong side of it. So Missouri has to guard against that, and Missouri's run defense has been excellent so far this year. They're top 3 in the SEC in run defense, so they should be able to hold up well, but this is a different task going up against a quarterback like Pavia.
And it's helpful that you've had 2 games kind of like this, going up against a running quarterback, because Daniels is that guy, and I thought they did okay against Daniels in that game against Kansas. And then Sellers falls a little bit into that. He's not like a pure scrambler, but he can use his legs to beat you if necessary, and they held him in check in that game as well. So at least you've had 2 games to use as like examples or as film to look back on to prepare you for Pavia, and haven't been just stuck like going up against Ty Simpsons that hang in the pocket.
The difference is those teams didn't have the tight ends that Vandy does. And that's what scares me so much is your linebackers are not great in coverage, great coming downhill, not great in coverage. Your safeties, great coming downhill, not great in coverage. And where do the tight ends live? The middle of the field. So they're going to be matched up all day long against your safeties and against your linebackers. Do you have the coverage ability to be able to go up against those guys? And even when they do hold up, because you've got a linebacker or a safety that's pulled out to be able to defend that tight end in coverage, and they have a lot of 2 tight end sets that they're going to put on the field, that guy's not able to be utilized in some kind of a spy situation. Or if you do utilize a spy, now you're playing more zone coverage, or you have to get manned up. Like, it puts so much pressure on you defensively going up against an offense like this.
Yeah.
I think Vandy is going to be able to score on Missouri's defense. It just becomes a question of, can Missouri's offense keep up with them? We're going to certainly spend a decent amount of time breaking that game down as we go along here on BK and Ferrario with Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson. I'm Brandon Kiley. The Junk Drawer is coming up next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. You got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. All right, Alex, so you're doing the potty training thing right now, right?
We are. A successful day for daughter number 2. All dry at school today. Let's go, boys.
Let's go.
Hey, hit the dong. Hit the dong there.
Congrats to you, Emma.
Yeah.
Dry day. Love dry days.
I don't think we're ever going to actually get there.
No,
Luca's
you'll get
just
there.
doing this thing where he sits on the potty. He doesn't actually do anything when he's on it. He just sits there. And he's like an old man.
Just give him a newspaper and he'll be good to go.
He's Alex. Alex goes to the bathroom to hide from his family.
Yeah.
He just goes there, sits in there for 30 minutes.
Joke's on you. I can't hide from my family. All of my daughters know how to unlock doors, so I have audiences when I go to the bathroom.
Luca just sits on his little mini Elmo potty now and just like reads a book.
Yeah.
He's 70 years old.
That's progress, man. That's progress. You let him sit there for like a week, and then once that first time hits, it's like, ooh, okay.
It's unbelievable.
Let him walk around in some undies, too. Like, don't do that. Let him feel what it feels like to go in your pants.
Really live.
And then it's like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I don't like this. You'll have one of those moments like my daughter did where she just dropped the pants and poops on the floor, but we worked through it.
So my dad's coming out this weekend. His grandpa, my dad. And when he comes out, you know what that means. We've got Weekend Warriors project, right? So
I don't know what that is.
Well, we'd like
Helping
fix
him around
stuff
the
up.
house.
Oh, you come up with, I got you. He gets a project. You want to come Weekend Warriors in my house? Because I got some stuff I don't have time for right now.
Don't even want to do it on my own. But so he was the one that helped us finish out the basement. We have a couple of, odds and ends jobs that we still have to finish up down there, and he's going to help us with those. We are also, according to my wife, going to put in a new vanity in our bathroom. So we're taking out the old sink, putting in a new one.
That's easy.
Doing all that stuff.
I like that.
What do you mean? You've done it?
Yeah, that's easy. The vanity.
How long is this going to take us?
Oh, the vanity's not that bad.
No?
No, you just disconnect the water pipe. You move. You got to like take the sealant off. You remove it and you put a new one in.
Wasn't this the same guy that what'd you do in the basement? Did he like
crack
hit
the
a water pipe or
pipe?
something?
Oh, okay. Well, that was behind a wall. This is everything's exposed.
Yeah, no,
here.
this
Like,
one
we're
will
not-
be fine. This is easy. The bathroom problem for me is doing the tiling. I don't know how to tile, and I got to figure that
See,
one
and
out.
I've done that. We did the backsplash.
Well, let's switch. I'll come do your vanity, $500 minimum. You come do my my shower tiles and just mark it up as experience.
Okay.
Vanity's not bad though. That's going to be quick as long as it's not like a tight fit or something like that. That should go pretty easy
Kara
for
the
you.
other day, I'm sure your wife does the same thing. She said, "Hey, can you ask your dad how long it would take for us to do a vanity?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, when he comes out, could we like fix this, or replace the vanity that's in our bathroom?" I thought we were just hanging out. We're supposed to go down to Main Street, hang out in St. Charles. They've got all the holiday stuff going on right now.
Hire
so
me.
Luca can go down
I'll
there.
go do it, and you guys go do that.
Yeah, instead, we're going to apparently do a bunch of work around the house once again. So
Checks out.
here we go.
That checks out.
Once again.
That's how that all works.
Did your inner thoughts when you heard that kind of go?
I told her, I said, Carrie, Saturday Mizzou plays at 2:30, right?
Yeah,
She's
so
like,
start
what do you
early.
mean? That's like the middle of the day when we're going to be hanging out with your family. I was like, yeah, they know.
Yeah, they're watching too. Yeah, start the vanity at 8 and we'll be done by 2:30 for it. No, vanity will be quick, man. You get done with that fast. Just don't hit any water pipes.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to dive into bet it or forget it.
I don't
guys
believe in
give
you
us
either.
a scenario. We will tell you if we are betting it or forgetting it here on 101 ESPN. But next, how do the Blues avoid following in the Kings' footsteps? We'll get into that next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. So how do the Blues avoid following in the Kings' footsteps? Alex, they were the team that Doug Armstrong has mentioned a number of times. When you look at teams that have been able to go through this retool and successfully get to the other side relatively quickly, the Kings were the model that the Blues decided to follow. But once they got to the other side of it and they get back into contention, they haven't been able to take that next step. They have lost in the first round every year since getting into the postseason again. So how do the Blues avoid having the same fate of 4 consecutive first-round exits in your mind?
My opinion, don't make the trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois like the Kings did, because that, in my opinion, was the downfall of that team. They traded, for those that don't remember, Gabe Vilardi on top of Alex Iafallo and Kaliev. Two of the guys, or Kaliev isn't there anymore. Iafallo's like a fourth-line player for them. Vilardi's a top line winger for the Winnipeg Jets. But like, I go back and look at that roster that Vilardi was on, the team that won 47 games. You had a Kevin Fiala who was 26 years old who had 70 points, Kempe who was 25. You had Gabe Vilardi who was 23, Alex Iafallo 28, and you had some younger players as well like Quentin Byfield, Brant Clark. You had the roster in place. The one thing you were lacking was a goaltender. But they instead tried to get overly aggressive and say, well, we're going to go get another centerman. And I understand the process there, because the teams that are the deepest down the middle are teams that have the most success. The problem was you made the trade for the wrong guy. It didn't work out. They moved on from him, and you lost a top-line winger. And I guarantee there's some that are going to say, well, Alex, they already made that trade. They traded for they traded away Zach Bolduc. That's their Gabe Vilardi. To me, the problem for the Kings was they didn't have the depth at wing when they moved on from Vilardi, because they had Fiala, they had Vilardi, and that was kind of it on the wing. They had Arvidsson, who was already 29 years old, and it wasn't really getting any better. And in the minor league system, they didn't have anything else coming. The Bolduc trade, the Blues had Snuggerud, Holloway, Kyrou, Dvorsky, Stenberg. Like, they had a system where they're like, we're just not going to have all of these wingers for one spot. So to me, don't make that same mistake of trading for the guy that doesn't match your roster.
Is some of this just as simple as don't meet up with the Oilers every year?
Well, you're not wrong there.
Like, would we view the Kings differently if they were in the Central and they were putting up 99, 104, 99, and 105 points over the past 4 seasons?
Yeah.
And then in the postseason, instead of going up against the Oilers every time, they're going up against, I don't know, Colorado, Minnesota, Winnipeg, one of these teams that are in the Central.
I think you'd still be talking about them losing to the Oilers, but you'd be talking about them losing in the Western Conference Final to the Oilers, because, I mean, there's a reason that they've lost.
That's different.
Oh,
I view getting to the Western Conference Final a hell of a lot different than losing in the first round every time.
Sure, but it's still not meaning the ultimate goal of winning the Stanley Cup, and that at some point that window closes. And that's what's happening right now. Like, how do you avoid it? Man, if it's 4 straight years of Western Conference Finals because, you know, I'm not matching up with the Oilers in the first round, I'm going up against Central Division teams in the first round, that's a win in my book, and you hopefully keep a window open. The other problem for the Kings is, like, Ajay Kopitar is getting old. He's retiring after this year. You know, Drew Doughty's going to be gone in a couple of years. He's 32, or he was 30, what is he, 35, 36? I don't know how many more years he has. Some of this, their window's closing because their top guys are just aging out of the window that they needed them to be in. And much like the Boston Bruins when they lost Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci, man, when you lose stars, or when you lose guys who are core pieces of a roster, you don't just replace them with the next guy that's stepping up.
Do you have any fear of that with the Blues?
Who would be the guy that's aging out, though?
I would say there are 3 potentially. 1 is Braden Shen. 2 would be Jordan Binnington. I don't know how it's going to go for him. Like, goalies, it can go either direction. Sometimes it goes all at once. Sometimes these guys can be good until they're like into their late 30s. So I don't know, one way or the other. And then the third, and I don't think it's going to happen immediately, but, you know, as the Blues continue to get into this winning window, it could be something similar to the Kings, where it takes a few years for them to get over the hump of getting deeper into the postseason. Colton Parayko. Colton Parayko's not young anymore, man. Yeah. We think of him as like this young kid that he was when he first came up to the NHL level. Colton Parayko's what, 32, 33?
Yeah.
I think that's right, yeah.
I think he's 32.
So it's not a young man anymore. And again, defensemen can play deeper into their careers. They can play into their mid to late 30s, but he's 32 years old right now. If he started to slow down within the next couple of seasons, I don't think it should be a huge surprise to anybody. He's played 730 NHL games.
Right.
That wears on you over time.
A lot of miles. I think if I were to tier them off into terms of the most I'd be concerned about, Binnington would be at the top. Parayko would be 2, Schenn would be 3. And it's not to take anything away from Schenn. I just think there's a lot of guys that are very similar to Braden Schenn's mindset, that if Schenn was gone, I think guys like Jake Neighbors or Dylan Holloway would embody what Braden Schenn represents. Parayko is a concern, but I think Parayko is one of those rare defensemen that get better as they get older. It's just a matter of, can you avoid serious injuries like you did with that back? Binnington's the one I'd be concerned about. Because if you don't have a goaltender, man, you don't have a shot at being successful in the playoffs.
Especially this one.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to have a guy that steals games for you when your team's not providing what they need. And I'm not saying Joel Hofer can't do that. He did that in Calgary. It's just, I know for a fact that when Binnington's in between the pipes, he's going to make the big save that they need at the right time. So he would be the number one concern, which is why I don't know what 2 years from now looks like. Right now, in the next couple of years, or right now and then next year, I know that Binnington's going to be eating 55% of the time on ice and between the pipes. 2 years from now, if they don't re-sign him and Joel Hofer looks like he's ready, I'd be concerned that what happens if he's not the guy.
Last thing that I wanted to get to, and the reason we're talking about the Kings the way that we were is because the Kings are in town tonight. Blues versus Kings, pregame starting at 6, puck drop with Alex Ferrario beginning at 7 o'clock. The Blues are expecting a lineup change, not tonight, but at some point in the very near future, with Oskar Sundqvist making his way back into the lineup. He said needs a couple more practices, but the belief is he could be back into the lineup, Alex, as soon as Thursday against Utah. At least that's a possibility right now. When that happens, how do you think the Blues lineup will change? It has changed in some way, but how do you think they will change it to accommodate his return?
So Texier will be out of the lineup. I think that's an easily decided upon. The question's going to be what happens with the third and fourth line. If Matthew Joseph keeps playing the way he's been playing, I think Sundqvist just slots in on the wing, and it's Bukestad and Sundqvist on that fourth line. Now, when Toropchenko comes back, that's where it gets interesting of who comes out of the lineup at that point. Does Sonny come back out? Does Joseph come out? I don't think you mess with the third line, let's say Thursday that Sundqvist comes back. I think having a fourth line that you can depend on in terms of Sundqvist's two-way ability with Bukestad and Nathan Walker, that's going to be something that they want. Now, if Joseph has a poor game tonight, I could absolutely see Joseph dropping down to the fourth line and Bukestad moving to the third line. But I think as it stands right now, Sundqvist just slots into Texier's spot.
What have you thought of Bukestad's game so far?
I think it's been good. It hasn't been noticeable. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing because he's playing the role of a fourth-line centerman that's winning faceoffs for you, fine defensively, searching for an identity, which is hard to do because Texier doesn't really match the way that Bukestad and Walker play. When Bukestad gets a shot on that third line, that's when you're going to notice him.
I was curious because that's how I felt. I haven't really noticed him a whole lot. That's not good or bad. It's just truly I haven't noticed him a lot.
I don't know if you agree with this. It reminds me a little of what it was for Fox early last year.
Totally.
Don't really recognize him, but I haven't recognized him in a bad way either, so I just assume it's going well.
And it's because I think he's more comfortable on the wing than he is center. I mean, when you're that big, he's fine playing center for you. He's won faceoffs for you. It's just you're not utilizing that net front presence when you're playing with Nathan Walker and Texier because there's no forecheck. So he's going to get a shot on that third line at some point, and basically what you're doing is you're putting Bukestad in the role that Jake Neighbors was in at the beginning of the season when Neighbors and Schenn were skating together. And if these line combos stay the same, I'd be really interested to see what a Schenn-Bukestad-Kyrou line looks like. But again, right now, Joseph's been playing really well, so I'm not going to take him out of that spot.
It's 1:11. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up in about 15 minutes, Missouri is signaling exactly what you would want to hear if you are a Mizzou fan. We'll let you hear the latest reporting when it comes to Eli Drinkwitz and a possible extension in 15 minutes. But next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It here on 101 ESPN. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions for bet it or forget it. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are betting it or forgetting it here on 101 ESPN. That's how I felt internally as I said it. Bet it or forget it. The Blue Jays will win at least a game in this World Series.
I'm going to bet it. I'm hopeful if they win a game, make it at least freaking interesting for us. I hope I'm right.
How are we waiting until Friday to start this series? Why?
It's the old, hey, we don't want to compete with the NFL and keep every game on Fox, is my guess.
Start it tomorrow.
What's tomorrow? Wednesday. And then Wednesday, Thursday, but then you got to play a game on Sunday. Like, I think they're trying to avoid that.
Yeah,
until like
you go
game
what?
7, I
Friday,
think.
Monday.
Friday, Saturday, Monday.
Oh.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday off.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
And I'm hoping so that would be what, 1, 2.
They just avoid the NFL. That's what they did.
Let's get to a game 6 or 7 so we have a game on Halloween night. It's not going to happen, but man, bonfire with some
fun.
With the boys.
Baseball? No.
That's 6 Friday night.
That's a family day.
That'd be great.
I invited the boys over on Sunday for a bonfire.
Alex invited us over last night. I think he was like 3 to 4 whiskeys in. I would have been having a good time.
I wanted to do the bonfire, but then by the time the girls got done, I'm like, it's not worth it anymore.
That's why I needed me there. I could have taken care of the bonfire.
You're right.
While you're doing bedtime.
I think they win at least one. I think they actually might end up getting 2 games in this series. I think they might make it a little more compelling than we're anticipating.
I will bet this, but I think they lose in 5.
That's fair. Alex?
Guys, bet it or forget it. Justin Carbonneau will score 40 goals in the NHL at some point in his career.
Forget it. The 40-goal threshold, man.
Hey, it's going to happen.
I like
Sell on basically everybody getting there other than somebody that's already proven they can at least get to 35.
Hey, man, why can't we just be optimistic about something?
I think it'd be a huge success if Carbonneau gets to 30. A huge success.
I think he could score 40. Have you seen what he's doing in juniors right now?
Yeah,
Man is on a mission right now.
It's been crazy.
That's also why they trade a guy like Zach Bolduc. Now, they traded him before the draft, so that, or no, they traded him after the draft. Oh, see, they knew what was going on. They drafted a star.
T-Bone, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, I would
Damn it,
forget
T-Bone.
that.
Say something.
I did. I'm forgetting it. That's what I'm saying. I am forgetting this, that he will not be a 40-goal scorer.
I just pulled up the most goals scored in one season in juniors hockey. Mario Lemieux scored 133 goals in 70 games.
That's insane.
How is that even possible?
It's like a hat trick every game, isn't it?
I don't. No, but it's like 2 goals every game.
Man, what a stuff.
Hot damn.
Is that what he's on pace for?
No, I don't think
Carbonneau,
so.
We have the next Mario Lemieux. Oh.
Well, that would be 40 goals in a season. So take that, BK.
You would have a couple of pretty good seasons, I would say, if that ends up being the case. T-Bone, what do you got for us today?
Guys, I saw Jay Fresh tweeted out something in his Substack that he wrote, and he was writing about Jimmy Snuggerud, and he said, hey, he reminds me a little of Matt Boldy. And Matt Boldy in his career, I'm going with his averages, 30 goals, 42 assists, 70-point guy. Bet it or forget it. Jimmy Snuggerud will have a 70-point season this year.
Forget it. He will have a 70-point season in his career. The Matt Boldy one's interesting. Now, Boldy's a center, though, so, but they've projected him to have a 40-40 season this year for Minnesota.
Boldy's been playing most of his time on the wing.
Has he?
So, yeah.
I was going to say, I know he's a centerman, but that makes sense. I would bet this one. Forget this one, not this season, but I would bet he has a 70-point season in his career.
I'd forget it on both the courts because I always take the under on most of these point thresholds.
He just would rather trade those guys.
No, it's really hard to get to the 70-plus point threshold, and a lot of it is opportunity. Will Jimmy Snuggerud consistently be a top-line player throughout his NHL career? If the answer is yes, I think he probably gets here. I don't know. My honest-to-God answer is I don't know.
Why don't you go be a Utah Mammoth fan?
Seriously.
I don't think it's a bad thing for him to be a 60-point, 25-goal, 35-assist player. That's a really good NHL player. That's Brandon Saad. Brandon Saad was a...
Oh, come on. You want to play the game? Would you slap the button now if he was Brandon Saad?
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
Yes, I would.
No.
Oh, no.
God, that's a bad situation if you get Brandon Saad out of Snuggerud.
I disagree. I think if Jimmy Snuggerud has Brandon Saad's NHL career, he had a really good NHL career. Brandon Saad has scored 265 career NHL goals. He's been on multiple cup contenders.
That's a coincidence.
That dude was a really good NHL hockey player. I think understating how good he was. He was consistently a 50-plus point producer and a 25-ish goal scorer.
That's great, but what I'm saying is it's not a win if you get Brandon Saad out of Snuggerud, because I think the expectation is Snuggerud's more.
I agree. I would forget this better to forget it. I do think he will be close to 70 this year. Like, I think he misses by 5 points. I think he will be a 65-point guy this year.
Brandon Saad, an average out over his career, 23 goals and 46 points in 82 games. I mean, if you're the Blues and that happens, it's like, whoa, you didn't expect that.
I agree.
I think that's a really good player. I think that's a guy that you can win with. I agree, it's a good
player. I think it'd be disappointing if that is Snuggerud, though.
He was also a guy that played second to third line. Mm-hmm. He was not consistently a top-line player.
Other than his 30-goal season when he was in Columbus, but somebody had to play the top line in Columbus that year.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It. If you guys have a scenario, we will tell you if we are betting it or forgetting it here on 101 ESPN. From the 618, Bet It or Forget It, I think this might be for an underdog play. Diego Pavia has at least one rushing touchdown on Saturday against Mizzou. I'll say bet it.
Yeah, bet it.
Yeah, I'll bet it as well. When they get into the red zone, I mean, they've got so many different options. I could see them running the read option, or he just scrambles on a pass play and there's nothing there. Yeah, I see him using his legs and beating Mizzou.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Already got the Mizzou. All they've got right now for the Mizzou game for Saturday is Diego Pavia, higher or lower on 205 and 205.5 passing yards. So I would take the lower on that, actually.
Oh.
I think he'll have 300 yards overall, but I don't know that he gets to 206 passing yards. I would say
with that secondary though for Mizzou.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say higher.
I don't know how many attempts he's going to have in the game.
Well, I hope few, because that's good for the Tigers.
Yeah, we're going to control football.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It. Guys, Bet It or Forget It. The winner of Vandy versus Mizzou will make it to the playoff.
I'll bet that.
Who's left on Vandy's schedule?
I think what, 4?
I think Vandy's schedule is pretty doable after this.
You think 3 teams from the SEC get in, or 4?
4 for sure.
4?
Yeah, I think
with the outside chance at 5, but I think it's probably going to be tough.
Yeah.
Vandy the rest of the way at Texas, home against Auburn and Kentucky, and they finish out the season at Tennessee.
I'll bet
they have one loss so far this year.
That they wanted the winner of this will get in, and I'm mostly banking that on I think Vandy will win, and then the rest of the schedule. Because Mizzou, if they win, it's a little tougher because you've got A&M left, you've got Oklahoma left. You lose those 2 games, and now you're probably on the outside looking in, and your Vandy win then doesn't look as good because you knocked Vandy down a peg. I would say bet it because I think Vandy will win, and that's an easy schedule.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It. Guys, bet it or forget it, the Dodgers will three-peat. I'll forget it on that one. It's tough to do, man. In any sport, three-peating is really difficult. So they got to win it this year and come back and do it again next year.
I'm going to bet it because they got to get them all before the lockout.
Boy. I would like to forget it, but man, I think they're only going to get better from here. And I feel like I said that last year, and then they went out and they added, Blake Snell.
Yeah, they're going to go get Tarek Skubal and Kyle Tucker.
I think they signed Tucker this offseason. I don't know if they add starting pitching.
Or go get Dylan
and the other
Cease.
thing, too, is they just put these guys on the IL. A Cardinals pitcher walks in the clubhouse, man, my arm's sore. Dodger guy walking in and goes, it's 60-day IL. That's how they got all these guys healthy for October.
And if I'm a free agent right now, I'll go sign a 1-year deal so I can go win a World Series with that team.
Sure.
Especially if I got to reset the market for myself. Hell yeah.
Bet it or forget it. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Bet it or forget it. The ACC will have multiple teams reach the college football playoff this year. That's the doomsday scenario for the SEC. And frankly, for a team like Illinois as well, is that the ACC ends up getting multiple teams in. And the reason why is because right now you have 4 teams that are at least capable of doing it. Miami could still get in. They have 1 loss on their resume thus far. It's not a great one, but Louisville is not a terrible loss on their resume. They could win out. Wouldn't be a surprise. Louisville has 1 loss on its resume. It's a pretty good one. It's in overtime against Virginia, who is now a top 25 team as well. Their schedule also very manageable the rest of the way. Speaking of Virginia, they have 1 loss on their resume. It's not a good one at NC State, but it's only by 4 points. Again, very manageable schedule. And finally, Georgia Tech does not yet have a loss on its resume. And the rest of the way, The only really difficult game is against Georgia. So even if they were to lose that one, it's a good loss on your resume. So if you get two of these teams that potentially went out the rest of the way, that's a rough go of it for Mizzou. And I think the worst case scenario would be like Georgia Tech loses to Georgia, but wins out otherwise. So they have one loss. Virginia wins out and Miami wins out. And then you have Virginia versus Georgia or something like that, or Georgia Tech in the ACC championship game, because Miami then skates into the college football playoff, and then Georgia Tech potentially gets in as well.
Jeez. So how many realistically could get in?
Two, probably.
Just two?
I don't think you could get more than two from the conference, but two definitely could.
So two there, two in the Big Ten, and that would be what, three? Then from the two there, two from the Big Ten, and that would be three from the and then three from the SEC.
Big 12 is also a similar situation to what I just described. I don't have to go through all of the manifestations of it, but BYU, Cincy, Arizona State, Texas Tech, all very much still alive for a college football playoff bid this year. If you get two of them in, there's 4 of your 12 spots. Then you've got Notre Dame, group of 5. You've got 6 teams left for the Big Ten and SEC combined.
4-2.
Whew. That's where things get tough, because I think 3 of them will be Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon.
Agreed.
And then you go over to the SEC. It feels like it'd be a really big surprise if Bama and Georgia aren't in. You have 1 spot remaining in this scenario for A&M, Ole Miss, Mizzou, Vandy, Oklahoma, all of these different teams.
I think I think in that scenario, what ends up happening is that I think Notre Dame actually is the one that gets left out. Because I mean, who's their quality win? Like USC? That's about it. I mean, they've lost to 2 top 10 teams. They don't have a whole lot of resume building on there. Like, you can run through Alabama, and if they end up being the team that gets to the conference title, well, that means they end up beating Georgia. They end up beating Vanderbilt. They end up beating Missouri. Like, I mean, they just got more quality wins than Notre Dame. Like, I think Notre Dame's the one that really gets the back end of this stick.
Or one of those ACC/Big 12 teams gets left out for Notre Dame.
I think that means we need to go to 16 teams right now.
No.
That's what's coming. This is going to be this season, this kind of chaos that's happening right now, and all of these teams having like 1-2 losses on their resumes and building up pretty good resumes, but not stuff that you can't poke holes in. This is what ends up getting us to that next level of expansion.
Ugh. Yippee. And this Mizzou Vandy game means nothing this weekend.
Somebody said, stay in your less than 500 dead bird living lane, BK. I don't know what that means exactly, but
what does that mean?
It was a lot of insults in one thing.
I love college football, and my squad's in this lane of teams that could potentially be squeezed out because of what's happening in the Big 12/ACC.
Maybe they're saying your betting is less than 500, so nobody believes
that would
in what you're saying.
That makes sense. Coming up next, speaking of Mizzou, they're signaling exactly what you would want to hear if you're a Mizzou fan. Are you buying what they're selling, though? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues back in action tonight as they host the LA Kings. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario and puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Gerber and Joey Vitale. News out of Major League Baseball, the LA Angels have named the former catcher Kurt Suzuki as their next manager. This Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Icon Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
Eli Hoff of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch had the following report earlier today in his piece. Quote, administrators have signaled a willingness to once again increase Eli Drinkwitz's compensation in order to keep him on the coaching staff at Mizzou. If he leaves, a thought which Missouri does not seem overly concerned about right now, the university does not want that to be for financial reasons. He continues, there's a thinking among some administrators that the cost of a substantial raise for Drinkwitz that would vault him closer to the top of college football's highest paid coaches would be worth it. When December comes around, Missouri seems to be serious about keeping Drinkwitz in place and is prepared to spend more in order to do so. End quote.
Congrats to you, Eli. You didn't even need to ask for a raise, and they're just going to dole out more money to you. Man. Second best job in all of sports.
This is what you should want to hear if you're a Missouri fan. Mm-hmm. You can't change the history of your program. You can't change the location of your recruiting base. You can't overnight build your stadium into a 100,000 person cathedral like what they have at Texas A&M or Bama or Georgia. You're not those programs, and we can't pretend as if Missouri is. What you can do, though, is lay the foundation of what it's been over the last 5 years, where when Eli Drinkwitz asks for things, you get it for him. He wanted you to continue to invest in his coaching staff. You have done so. He wanted you to continue to pour into the NIL fund. You have done so. He wanted to build up the facilities at the University of Missouri. They have done so. So at every point when he has asked for something, they have basically said, we've got you. They have also ponied up when it comes to his financial obligations. He is a top 10 highest paid coach in all of college football right now. That is not something that I expected to be able to say about a coach at the University of Missouri. And so I actually do not, Alex, have a whole lot of concerns about this being a financial decision for Eli Drinkwitz. If he is being offered $11.5–12 million to go coach somewhere, I think Mizzou would match that. That is both based upon my own speculation and this reporting that's coming right now from Eli Hoff of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, backed by what we had previously heard by Gabe DeArmond of PowerMizzou.com. Are you guys buying what they're selling here, though? Because this is a good sales pitch. Hey, it's not going to be financially motivated. If he leaves, it's for other reasons. Are you guys buying this?
I mean, I am. I don't know how I couldn't buy it. Because if Mizzou is basically saying we will give him whatever he wants to make sure he stays at the University of Missouri, then if this goes it's kind of the smart play if you're Mizzou, because if he goes anywhere else, this isn't on the Tigers saying well, we just decided we couldn't pay this guy. No,
it's him saying I can't win a title.
Yeah, it's him saying I don't want to be at Mizzou anymore. And so it's a really smart play by Mizzou to have this come out.
I agree.
But yeah, I trust this reporting, and I trust that Mizzou realizes, hey, what we've gone through after Gary Pinkel, this is great what we have. Let's not go look for something else or not pay the guy what he's worth so he goes elsewhere and then we're searching for the next Eli Drinkwitz. He recruits. He's worked in the transfer portal with NIL money. He knows how to get the best out of these guys when they're at the university as they continue to grow. And even if he's not winning the big game, he's still getting double digits. So let's give him whatever he wants. And if he goes elsewhere, that's not on us.
T-Bone, I'm curious because you had said your takeaway from the Indiana news that Curt Cignetti had signed an 8-year fully guaranteed contract worth, I think it's $11.6 per year. Mm-hmm. If Missouri gave the exact same deal to Eli Drinkwitz, let's say they make it $11.65 just for him to slightly be paid more than what Curt Cignetti is, right?
I like that.
You said it was a mistake for Indiana to do that. You didn't think that they should give him that amount of money, guaranteed all of these different things. Would it be a mistake for Mizzou to do that?
I would say, yeah. I think it would be because
What if that's what it takes? If you don't do it, he leaves. If you do it, he stays.
I think if you trust what your foundation is as a program, and what I mean by that is, hey, we're willing to help the coach out by giving him the NIL money that is required, the money that helps his staff, the stuff they're doing in the end zone to help with the stadium experience and all that stuff as well. I think you can look at it and say, hey, look, I don't like the idea of just losing leverage to Eli Drinkwitz then. And I think you can look at that and say, hey, we can bring in a coach that could do this here too. And not have to overpay him because he hasn't gotten the big win just yet. Same with Cignetti now did. He beat Oregon in his defense. But I just don't know if you can sustain that in Indiana.
One of the 10 most winning college football coaches in all of college football over the last 3 years.
Who, Cignetti or
Drinkwitz.
Yeah, I don't know that I would make that play to make him the third highest paid coach or second highest, whatever it would be.
But if it's $10 million a year, you're willing to do it. Because he's making $9.5.
If he wants like a $500K raise, sure. I'm
but you won't
fine
do
with
it's
it.
the extra $2 million
Yeah,
that
look,
does it.
I don't like losing my leverage here.
I don't know. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. I don't get it.
He's
I
a
don't
pride
understand
negotiator. He's not going to be beaten in a negotiation, so I'm not going to let you win,
I
even
think
if it's
Mizzou's
for a
going to pay
mill.
him, right? Like I expect Mizzou will pay him. I agree with what Alex said. I mean, this was a great use of a lead.
He's Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons.
Get the hell out! We can win without you.
We won't give him 30, but we'll give 25 to Max Crosby.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
But it's not going to beat me in this negotiation. You will not embarrass me. I'm T-Bone.
I think if I had to predict today that Eli Drinkwitz will stay at Mizzou, I think he will ultimately come to the conclusion, I've got everything that I need here. I'm comfortable. I have good job security. I will get paid more than I could have ever imagined. He's going to get, I don't know if he'll get the fully guaranteed deal that exists for Curt Cignetti at Indiana, but man, I wouldn't be surprised if it's something close to that. Or he's just getting a boatload of money and they drop the bag for him and say, you're going to be here for the next decade. Let's go try to win a national championship together. And I don't think you upgrade from Eli Drinkwitz at Mizzou. I think it's almost impossible to do so. I mean, maybe you could hire the next Curt Cignetti, but the odds are much more in favor of you hiring, I don't know, the next Shane Beamer or the next, what's his face from Florida? Why am I blanking on his name? Billy Napier.
He just got fired on Monday.
You're far more likely to find that or the next Barry Odom or the next Ryan Walters than you are the next Eli Drinkwitz. So I would give him what he's asking for. And if that means that you end up being held over a barrel and you have no negotiation power, that is the cost of being a top 15 program in the country. Yep. That's what it cost at Mizzou to be that. Because if you're Notre Dame, you're Georgia, you're Bama, and a coach is asking you for that, get out of here. We'll go attract the next best thing. Crazy thing, though, is those coaches that are the next best thing are staying now. So it's becoming more and more difficult to just move on from your guy when they're staying at their programs like we're talking about right here with Eli Drinkwitz potentially doing at Mizzou. All right, last college football thing that I wanted to get to here. The odds for the Heisman have been updated, Alex. As of today, there are 3 guys really that are the favorites. It's Ty Simpson, the quarterback at Alabama. Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback out of Indiana. Julian Sayin, the quarterback for Ohio State. Those are the 3. They're all somewhere between 3-1 and 4-1. And then Marcel Reed, quarterback at Texas A&M. I think I touted him over the offseason. I like him a lot. He's at plus 750, so he's 7.5 to 1. Do you think one of those 4 will ultimately win the Heisman this year, or do you think somebody else could work their way into this mix?
I think Ty Simpson would be the one that my guess would be he wins it, especially if Alabama just runs the table the rest of the way. You've got the quarterback that's done it. He's got the numbers that back it up. He's probably the one that would win it. I don't know what it'll look like the rest of the way, but if I had to go like a dark horse, Diego Pavia would be one. I mean, he's already got, combined with passing and rushing, 19 touchdowns. Let's say he beats Mizzou, and then we've already talked about the ease of their schedule. If Vandy's a playoff team, Pavia is going to be the reason why. So I could see him sneaking into it.
Yeah, I think it's going to end up settling in on, I think Mendoza will be the one for me, because I think he's going to put up some huge numbers. Indiana's schedule is so easy the rest of the way. Like, I could see him having a couple big games that really propels him forward. Simpson, like, if he puts up big numbers in the rest of this SEC slate on Bama's schedule, then he will get the edge. I just don't know that he will. I don't know if he'll continue to do that So I would lean Mendoza. My dark horse would be Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame because their schedule's easy as well. He had a huge game this past week against USC, rushed for, I think it was like 220 and some touchdowns as well. If he goes off the rest of the way and gets Notre Dame back in that playoff conversation, I could see where he sneaks into this conversation for the Heisman.
Do you know where, as of today, Fernando Mendoza ranks in college football in passing yards this season?
I think it's low. Lower than you would expect. I want to say like...
How many quarterbacks do you think have more passing yards this year than Fernando Mendoza, who is a top 3 player right now in the Heisman odds?
It's a BK game, so 9.
I'll say 12.
Real quick, because like the peek behind the curtain here was a BK game. I wanted to say like none, but then he said really slowly, who's a top 3 quarterback. That's where it got me. 9.
29.
Damn! I knew
should have went deeper.
Double digits.
He is 30th in college football in passing yardage so far this season. It's a weird year for the Heisman odds. I understand that. There's nobody that's really been a great player with historic numbers on a great team. And if you're going by the efficiency numbers, he's much higher than that. He's 4th in, or he's like top 5 right now in yards per attempt. Mavia at USC is number 1 in that regard. He's averaging 10 yards per attempt on the season. And then the Texas Tech quarterback is 2. Fernando Mendoza is 3 at 9.7 yards per attempt, tied with Desmond Williams from Washington. Julian Sands right behind them with 9.6.
Where is Simpson in terms of like passing yards?
Ty Simpson this year in passing yardage
I think he's low too, compared to being near the top. Lower? Oh.
He's 10th. He's 10th in passing yardage so far this year.
Okay. Well, that's
1,900.
Still, like, when I think of Heisman, I think of like first in like every category.
Yeah, well, I don't think those guys
Robertson
exist.
with Baylor is number 1.
Why are we not talking more about him?
Is number 2. Jaden Mavia is number 3. The teams that are great that we've all watched this year, they don't have the quarterback that's putting up these historic numbers. And I watched Ty Simpson, and I'm like, that guy's a Heisman caliber player. But then you look at the numbers, and it's like, yeah, but he's not putting up your typical Heisman season numbers.
He feels very Mac Jonesy. And Jones never won a Heisman, right? Am I mistaken then? Bryce Young was the one who did it.
But you thought he was going to win a Super Bowl.
He still could. You see what he's doing in San Fran?
He's been really good for them.
He'll be benched.
But like that's what it feels like, where it's like, okay, yeah, this guy's really good. He'll make the plays when necessary. Doesn't scream Heisman Trophy finalist, let alone winner to me.
Yeah, I don't think there's an obvious winner. I would probably bet on one of these 4 guys being ultimately the one that wins it, with Simpson, Mendoza, Sayin, or Reed. And it's just because they're the quarterback on the best teams.
No, getting on the ground floor.
It's a by default kind of a year, as opposed to and he's only 8-1. I mean, he's not like a dark horse. He's the 5th highest.
$1,000 on that makes me some money. I don't think that's going to work, man.
Here's the problem: they don't win football games very often.
You can't win a Heisman if your team
I didn't know about them.
Yeah, they're 4-3 on the season.
Yes, you can. Colorado, Hunter won a Heisman, and they were terrible last year.
He put up a historically great
Hunter
season.
did Shohei Ohtani-esque stuff in football.
I was just making a point. That team sucked.
It wasn't a good point.
He won a Heisman. No, it was a good point.
Somebody said, is John Mateer in the top 10? I can look at the odds. I don't think so.
It's hard to be in the top 10 when you've been injured.
Games, and B, he hasn't been good since he's been back.
Yeah, they rushed him back. They said, hey, man, we need you even with your broken hand.
Yeah, John Mateer, 150-1 right now.
Ooh, get on that, Tebow.
To win the Heisman. Some of the other dark horses, Gunnar Stockton at 11-1, Dante Moore of Oregon at 14-1, Jeremiah Love at 20-1.
That's one that I
right now. Jeremiah Smith, the receiver from Ohio State, is 40-1. A few others. Haynes King, I really like at Georgia Tech. I don't think he has any chance to win the Heisman, but at 55-1, what the hell?
Struggled this weekend.
And then Trinidad Chambliss at 75-1. So yeah, not a whole lot of names that are.
It's a good time to be a college football fan.
Is this going to be the new norm?
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know.
The reason I ask is like we talk about talent being dispersed. Like everybody's all pretty decent, good. There's no great team, and like I kind of wonder if this is going to be the new norm for the next couple of years.
I'm riding Arch Manning all the way for a Heisman.
Oh God, wait a little while.
He'll get there.
2 to 3 years.
He'll get there.
Alongside Alex and T1 on BK, the Rewind is next here on 101 ESPN.
BK Underdog is in full swing with the NFL season, and it is the perfect place to go to lay your action down over at Underdog. And the best part about this is, BK, you can select your entries and win money right now in the state of Missouri. But you know me, I'm going to have to sidestep the NFL after the game's wrapped up. I'm going over to hockey. You got Blues tonight, so I'm putting together my entry. 4 picks. I'm going Parayko, higher on shots. Snuggerud, higher on shots. Holloway, higher on points, and because I have to put a Kings one in, lower points for Kevin Fiala. Those 4 plays get me 7-1 payment.
Playing on Underdog is easy, whether you're like Alex, you love the hockey side of things, football on the college side, and the NFL. You can do it all over on the Underdog app. Choose whether your favorite player are going higher or lower on their stats. Get your entries correct. You could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Don't forget to check the Underdog app each and every morning. See if they've got any odds boosts over there, maybe a gimme pick or 2. It's all available to you on the Underdog app today. So download that app, sign up using the promo code BKO. You could score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BKO on the Underdog app. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 or older, present in Missouri. Terms to apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Consider with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com. And the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
That 101 ESPN app is super easy to use. It is free to download, and it is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. It is 1:54. Your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Alex, in the ALCS last night, we got a great game. The series was phenomenal. The individual games, for the most part, were not particularly good, but it ended with a crescendo. Blue Jays win 4-3, that huge home run by George Springer. He's going to go down as one of the best playoff performers of this era. I know T-Bone will tell you that it is...
Well, I mean, that 2017 run, there was a lot of going on in
Yeah,
the
but
background.
it takes talent to listen to that and know what's coming.
I don't think so.
Maybe it was trash can aided, but it worked for him yesterday with the Blue Jays. He's been phenomenal for them. Blue Jays get a huge win. Your biggest takeaway from the series was what?
I mean, it was just the environment and the atmosphere for a game like that. Like, who cares when Shohei Ohtani hits 3 home runs and pitches well in the same game? That's more fun. That's better baseball to me, watching that type of environment. But it was cool to see Toronto fans. I mean, they're desperate for some type of championship caliber athletic event, and you have that now with the Blue Jays, and I hope they enjoyed it because it's going to get ugly quick.
Yeah, I haven't believed in them all year. I didn't believe in them coming into October. Like, I looked at the teams that were in the playoffs from the East as better World Series contenders than the Red Sox and the Yankees, and yet they were the one that was here to the end. And I thought Seattle had every piece that they needed, and it's just a reminder that even in the best of 7, I'm not sure that it's necessarily the best team won in this series because, I mean, look at the Mariners. They didn't really have any holes, and they still couldn't get over the top. It just goes to show you how hard it is, even if you do everything perfectly. And now their bullpen management in that game I didn't think was perfect, but what they did at the deadline, right? They needed to address their offense. So what do? They get aggressive. They add Naylor. They add Suarez, and they end up losing in the ALCS, and the season was a failure, as Cal Raleigh said it.
Yeah, baseball can be incredibly cruel. One thing that I do appreciate is that it rewarded the Blue Jays for doing the thing they needed to do. My biggest takeaway was, man, I'm happy for Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Yeah.
He made a huge commitment to the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, they did the same in return. He is being rewarded handsomely with one hell of a salary for a really long time. But I like it when a player, especially a guy that grew up with the city. I saw a picture yesterday of him like in 1996. I don't remember
his
what
dad
it
was with the Expos.
Yeah. He was like, it was the pregame stuff where he's got his hand over his heart, and then for him to do the exact same thing last night going into Game 7, it's just so poetic, man. So I love the fact that this is a guy that's from Montreal playing for Toronto, and it's all worked out the way that it has for him, and they kept him there for the long haul. And now this is something that will always be on his resume. So Blue Jays fans don't have to have that blemish on the resume of wasn't able to get us over the hump, wasn't able to get us to the big game. No, he succeeded, and he was a driving force to getting this team to the World Series. So he's now going to be able to be remembered forever, regardless of what happens from here, as an all-time great for the franchise of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Who's more loved in Toronto by sports fans, Vlad Guerrero Jr. or Austin Matthews?
Now Vlad Guerrero Jr.
And I think until Austin Matthews gets to that point, it will always be Guerrero Jr.
What's the furthest Matthews has gotten?
Second
Toronto?
round.
Okay, I was going to say they haven't even gotten to the Eastern Conference.
No.
Why?
Yeah, so that is
suck.
It's what makes you remember players fondly. Think about here in St. Louis, right? All of the guys that you remember. There are some guys that did not end up winning it all that you remember fondly, but everybody that wins it all, you remember them fondly. Now, they have not won it all yet, and I don't think they're going to win it all.
They're not going to win a game.
But this is as close as you can get in modern baseball to be able to doing exactly that.
Yeah, if the Dodgers would just stop ruining baseball.
Yeah, we'll get you a participation trophy, Toronto.
Blues back in action tonight. Alex will have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock. Puck drop for that one right here in your home of the Blues starting at 7. For Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane's coming up next here on 101 ESPN.